Okay, welcome to the OHV Advisory Council meeting today. It's April 25th. I believe we've got several members of the council that are online, a few of us here in person. So let's go around the room and make introductions. Maybe we should start with Chase, who is the new program director. Do you want to introduce yourself, and we'll go around, and then Cheryl, if you can call off a roll call of who's online, let them introduce themselves.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I'm Chase Peely. I'm the new program coordinator for the Division of Outdoor Recreation. A little bit about me is I spent 10 years with Utah State Parks, previous and recreation, but now just Utah State Parks. I started in 2012 at Starvation State Park, now Fred Hayes at Starvation. Spent a few years out there being able to groom and be a part of the strawberry grooming complex with the winter grooming, as well as all the trails and stuff within Duchesne County for off-highway vehicle patrol. Keep going. Then I moved up to assistant manager at Willard Bay State Park. Up there, I've been able to manage the Monte Cristo grooming complex, and I've been involved with a lot of the trail systems up in Monte Cristo and Weber County, as well as a lot of the stuff with West Desert of Northern Box Elder. Then my recent assignment was at Jordanelle State Park as the assistant manager. And there I was able to manage the strawberry grooming complex for the snowmobile program. And there I've been really lucky because that's a kind of one of our OHV Mecca areas where I've been able to access some of the single track areas, and there's some 50-inch trail system. And I've been lucky to be a part of that. Along with that, I've been able to be a trainer with our OHV program as far as training our rangers how to navigate through snowmobiles and off-highway motorcycles and side-by-sides and UTVs. I've been a part of that for about 5 years. And I'll back up a little. I'm a Sanpete County native. I grew up as a Sanpeter, and I've been able to be a part of that huge 50-inch country trail system, which I grew up loving, and I didn't know how great it was until I moved away from it. Now I miss it. So some of the stuff I've been involved in throughout my career is I've helped out with a lot of search and rescues as a law enforcement ranger. I've been a part of the Weber County search and rescue team, which I hold dear to my heart, as well as being able to help out at Wasatch County in my recent assignment. I've investigated a lot of OHV accidents involving, serious injuries, and I've been unfortunately a part of that, but I was able to learn a lot from that. Some things I kind of want to focus now that I'm the OHV program manager, which I'm very grateful to be part of a passionate community. I can also call myself one of those community members. As I own a dirt bike, I own a side-by-side. I grew up on ATVs, so I'm definitely one of those users with all of you, which I love, and I love being able to access that stuff with my family. So being a user and also a government representative, as well as I still can maintain my law enforcement status to help our rangers educate and spread the word out to everyone. I just want to kind of reaffirm our mission statement of this FIG grant. Our OHV Advisory Council for the FIG grant. So in our mission statement, we represent motorized trail use, educate the public, promote responsible riding, and enhance trail opportunities with the purpose of a safe and enjoyable off-highway vehicle experience for present and also future generations, which I hold that as really important to the entirety of this council is what does the future hold for off-highway vehicles? And that's what we always got to keep in mind is what's going to be next, the next big thing, because the off-highway vehicle world is always got to change with it. I'll also kind of recite where we get our responsibility from, which is 4122.1 in Utah State Code annotated. And this is what I see as my mission statement as an off-highway vehicle program manager. So it's a policy of this state to promote safety and protection for persons, property, and the environment connected with the use, operation, and equipment of off-highway vehicles, to promote uniformity of laws, to adapt and to pursue a safety education program, and to develop trails and other facilities for the use of these vehicles. So with that, that's a lot of things to do with this program, which I'm very passionate to be that representative, and I'm going to be that advocate for this program, both as a user as well as, the representation of the community. Some goals that I, along with this, that I put forward, that I've mentioned to our government agency as well as our law enforcement rangers, is promoting safety with our program, providing relevant safety education, providing a relevant safety education program, and developing trails and facilities for use of these vehicles. So that is a little bit about me. So moving forward, that's kind of my main focus, is just making sure we're efficient with these government funds, and that we're providing stuff for the future of our off-highway vehicle community and program. So sorry, I take a long time and I talk a lot, so we can
That's okay.
introduce some.
I'm catching up, so.
All right. Rachel,
Oh, yeah.
the introductions, let's go around.
Yeah. So my name is Rachel Toker. I am the grant analyst. So I manage the fiscal incentive grant for the Division of Outdoor Recreation. So that's me.
I'm Cheryl Butler. I'm the Forest Service rep for the council.
My name is Scott Wheeler. I represent the off-road motorcycles. I've been riding bikes for about 55 years now, dirt bikes, and so I live in Price. I think a pretty good place to live if I want to ride a dirt bike.
I'm Ron Tolman. I'm the full-size OHV representative on the board, and I'm also the chair this year. And then Rachel, would you mind listing off those who are online?
Yes.
So they can introduce themselves?
Brody, do you want to begin?
My name is Brody Johnson. I'm from Iron County, and I'm the ATV representative.
Eric.
Hi, I'm Eric Nelson. I am the dealership representative.
Fred.
I'm Fred Christian. I represent OHV Safety, and I live in Annabelle, Utah, which is by Richfield, if you don't know.
It's good to see Fred feeling better.
Yeah. Happy to hear that you're feeling better, and it's good to see you, Fred.
I'm glad I'm still alive.
You are too. Jason.
My name's Jason Blanknagel. I live in Vernal, Utah, and I am the member at large.
Tyson. Tyson Todd. All right. So internal. I'm going to move on to Tara.
Yes, I'm Tara McKee. I am currently with the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant as the program office with as the grant manager, and will be starting to work more with the OHV FIG grant going forward as the manager over the various grant programs that the Division of Outdoor Recreation administers. Looking forward to that.
And then Shane, if you want to introduce yourself as well.
Hi, I'm Shane Stroud. I'm Assistant Attorney General, and I assist the Division of Recreation. I also assist the Division of State Parks. So happy to be here tonight.
Okay, and then Tyson, did you figure out your technical difficulty or?
I did. Tyson Todd with the School Institutional Trust Lands Administration, that seat representative.
Nice. Thank you. And do we want to move it to the public who's
Yeah, I
here?
think so.
Yeah.
Let's start here. Brett, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and why you're here.
Brett Stewart with Utah OHV Advocates. I'm just observing tonight.
Phil Rawlings with the Salt Lake Off-Road Expo and the Utah Off-Roaders Alliance. Here with the educational grant.
Joan Powell, Wellington City. I just come to check in on the grant for the tourism and the mapping park.
I'm Leah Rossi Booth, and I'm with At Your Leisure TV.
And she's here because I made her come.
That's Chad Booth.
And I'm Chad Booth, and I'm here on behalf of some of the grant applicants so that I can answer vendor questions in regards to their grant. It's plural.
I'm Lori Talbot. I'm with Penguin City. We have a mapping grant out there as well as a website looking to do some great things in Penguin.
I'm John Talbot. I'm her husband. I'm here because she'd sooner take me than have to kiss me goodbye.
Great. Well, welcome all those that are online and here in person. The next item on our agenda is the Utah Trails presentation by Evan Glenn. I don't see Evan Glenn here or online. Rachel?
I have not either.
Do you know
and
anything about that?
Sent them the invite and I haven't heard anything back. So if you want to recommend that we move to the next item on our list.
Yeah, let's go ahead and we don't need to vote on that, do we? We'll just move on, right? Because it's
And
in our agenda.
yes.
All right, the next item is an action item, and that's the approval of the minutes from our last meeting held on February 8th. I would accept a motion on that action item. If there is one.
See a mistake in there.
Okay.
Scott Wheeler.
Yeah.
On the grant for the Carbon County motocross track, it shows 112,000. It's actually 162,000 unless it shows it someplace else other $50,000 in there.
That's grant number 36.
Yes.
Okay. I will make note and have her change that.
And it's, oh, excuse me, it's 162,500. I see there's a 6 in there, and that 6 got put in the wrong spot, looks like.
Yeah. I think that, because we just added $50,000 to it, correct? Okay. I will have her, Becky McBride, edit that. Thank you. Brody, you raised your hand.
I was just gonna approve I like the minutes.
Is that a motion?
That would be a motion.
Okay.
I second it. Scott Wheeler.
Okay. First and a second.
All right, and all those in favor, do we want to go or do a roll call
Yes.
on that?
Let's do a roll call.
Okay.
We will start with people in the building.
Okay.
Cheryl, I.
Scott, aye.
Ron, aye.
Okay. Brody, you already said yes. Eric,
Yes.
Aye.
Fred,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
and Tyson.
Aye.
Great. All right.
All right, the next item on our agenda is a off-highway vehicle program update from Chase. He kind of gave us quite a bit of information. Did you have some additional items for just a program of where the program's at right now and where it's headed?
Yeah, so right now we're just getting our trail crews kind of hired and ready to go. We've been talking with some local stakeholders and getting them ready. We'll have them ready mid-May to get them out and working on trails and stuff like that. We're working on getting a wider net casted to get more trails worked on. I've been working with a lot of private entities, specifically in the 5 Mile Pass area, trying to help them solve some OHV private access issues, working with the Bureau of Land Management to as well. Some other items I've been working on is wrapping up the grooming season numbers for the snowmobile stuff. And I'm diving head in first, which Brett knows this, head in first, the House Bill 180, and working on getting that ready for January of 2023, which is coming up real quick. But I think we are off to a good start to solve, or actually not solve, just provide an opportunity for everyone. So those are kind of the main things I'm working on now with my OHV crew. And then we have I'm also working with our recreation law enforcement rangers, which we now have within the Division of Outdoor Recreation, and helping them get that message out to our OHV users as well, and helping that out. So that's kind of a brief synopsis.
Good. Well, welcome, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the public comment period, and a notice was sent out that we would not be accepting verbal comments at this meeting, and instead we were accepting written comments only. And all of those written comments have been dispersed to all of the council members. I hope that each one of us has taken the time to read those and review those. I know for myself, I think 15 minutes would have been an inadequate amount of time to hear public comments and really digest them. And so having the written comments, I was able to spend quite a bit more time than that reviewing them and considering how they affected our process. Are there any council members who have not received those public comments and not had a chance to review them prior to this meeting?
Scott Wheeler.
Yes.
I wasn't aware of them until now. I knew that they were pulling these up, but that was probably my fault.
You're probably driving.
Yeah, you're probably driving.
What's that now?
You're probably driving here to the meeting.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So, do you want to take this time now to review those?
I think we can discuss them as we go. I think we can, if you're aware of them. I have information I talked to several people with these grants, and so I might be aware of them already. So hopefully that we'll go through this process, and those who have read them will be able to enlighten me on that.
Was everybody else able to read through the public comments and kind of digest that a little bit? Okay. All right. Do we need to spend any more time on this now, you think, Rachel, or?
I don't think so.
Okay,
They've
so.
been issued and they'll be public knowledge.
Yeah, so these will be part of the public record. They've been received and reviewed, and the council is under advisement to consider the information that's been received as we go through the grants. Next on the agenda is to begin the review of the grants. Rachel has set up this submittable platform for both submitting and reviewing them. I know for myself as a council member, I appreciate the time that's gone into setting this up. There's a little bit of a learning curve to it for me. I think I did my reviews multiple times before I figured out how to submit them. It's nice to be able to have made some comments and read other council members' comments. Typically, we have to kind of avoid that because it's not part of a public meeting. But since these are part of this meeting and they are available, we're able to kind of review some of those things in more depth. So do you want to maybe take a minute and tell us about that program, and then we can start jumping into them?
Yeah, so we've been using Submittable. And so ultimately what it is we just, our advisory council members, they're assigned applications and they go in and score them. And they can add comments as well as communicate with our applicants as well. So this grant cycle, we did actually receive 23 grants, but one did not make it to the review stage because ultimately their budget had insufficient detail on it relating to the application request. So as you can see, there's only, well, I know it may not look like it, but 21 has been removed. So there is 22 applications with the request amount right now for this quarter, and this is our fourth quarter, we have a little under $1 million available. You'll see that 16 cents because there was some funding that was rolled when there were specific closeouts that had additional funding availability. So our request right now is almost 1.5 million. Total project cost is $2,403,000. It's starting, guys. I can never pronounce these numbers. Anyways, that amount. And then this one is the percentage match. So if we do look over at our categories right now, so this is what was available after quarter 3, again, showing those added numbers into those categories based off of closeouts from this grant cycle. And then this is the potential use. So again, we are unable to approve and recommend all of these. Also, it's recommended that we do try to keep in the parameters. As you can see, we've exceeded a lot of these parameters already. So please keep that in mind when we are going through this. These numbers should auto-calculate once we start to go through things. And these amounts, and I know that there was, I believe, 1 or 2 people that did not score. Eric, I think that you were going through yours as, so I tried to get all the numbers in here, but we may need to update some of these. But as of right now, these are the preliminary scores from our advisory council members. And then these items here are just going to be yes, no. Obviously, there's some people that will be abstaining from specific applications, and they've already brought that to my attention. So I know that we discussed having it so that if we wanted to lump applications together or if we wanted to just go through and review and recommend from the beginning. I'm gonna leave that up to you.
Yeah, does the council have any input on how we'd like to approach these? Do we want to take them just in order from the top, one by one?
Okay.
Yeah, I
And then
believe
as we approach
do them
issues.
disservice if we don't look at each one of the
Yep.
grant applications.
Okay, well,
individually.
let's start at the beginning with number 1. Now I noticed that
You got them backwards on
okay,
on
yeah,
this
so
list here. So
you see them in a different, Rachel's screen shows them in a different order than mine does.
So if you press the date, because this one was the first application submitted.
Okay, so this is sorting by date.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, sorry, I know, I did it today. I would like to state that they have added a comment here. I know that Brody, one of our advisory council members, has reached out to them, and there was a discussion on pretty much a legal binding MOU for the land that is being donated. And so there was a comment added here from him, from our applicant, stating that. Yes. So ultimately, we've tasked them with, hey, we need an official document stating legally that the land that is being donated will only be used for OHV access and OHV usage. So if potentially someone is to pass away, their family can't go in and revoke that usage. So that's what they're working on right now. I told them that I would give them pretty much like a month to do it. So we're going to very likely just recommend these as if that is going to be put in place. Obviously, if it doesn't get put in place within a month, then we would not recommend it at this time. So,
Rachel, can I make this is Brody, can I make a recommendation
yes.
that the attorney that is sitting in on this be allowed to review that and give his thumbs up before that's accepted by this committee and this council.
Shane, would you like to state if that is something that's doable?
So are you asking me to review it to make sure that it's legally sufficient, that essentially what Rachel was explaining, that if the heir should want to change the land to some use other than OHV, that they would not be able to do that?
So there's a couple of different parts to this grant. There's this, what was it, the 17 acres and then 6,000 acres. This landowner is giving approval to use 64 miles worth of trail on this 6,000 acres. Well, so if this council approves this, then they'll be signing kiosks and other type of things along a lot of these trails. If we're going to invest this kind of money, as I understand it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but an MOU can be voided out quite fairly easily. And that's what they had as an MOU. What I asked the applicant to do is to do a legal binding agreement. Maybe it has to be signed off by a judge, I don't know, that says doesn't matter who owns the property, if it's a family, a grandson, a trust, the bank, the government takes it over, the county assumes control of it, whatever it might be, or the family decides it's a great place for a Costco, that they can't deny OHV access to these trails that we're investing in on private property. I think that's only fair and only right that we have that in place. Now, it doesn't mean that they can't use the land for other things as well. If they, for example, put up a Costco, we should be able to drive around the Costco, whatever it might be. So just whatever it takes on your end from the legal side to make sure that agreement is ironclad for whatever time frame. He'd asked me what kind of a time frame. I said, I'd do it a minimum of 100 years, but maybe it needs to only be 20 years or for here until the end of time, whatever you feel is appropriate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And thanks for taking the time to kind of explain what it is you're after. So yeah, I'd be happy to look at that. Maybe the easiest thing to do, I mean, I probably can't look at it, during the meeting tonight. I'd be happy to look at it.
Well, there's no legal agreement yet because the attorney is on vacation. He won't be back till tomorrow or the next day. Then it'll take whatever time it takes for the attorney to come up with that legally binding agreement, for the landowner to agree, and for the grant folks to agree to that. And then to get it to us to review, to make sure that it's appropriate. Time for you to take a look at it, give your thumbs up. And in that case, after 30 days, if that passes your muster and our muster, then if this grant is approved, then checks start getting written or however it goes from there.
That makes sense. So maybe the easiest thing to do is, Rachel, if you want to get the information of that attorney, his or her contact information, and then I can reach out directly to the attorney about the instrument and work on it from there. Does that sound like it would work, Brody?
I appreciate that very much. Since I'm not an attorney, I'm a social worker. It doesn't legalese doesn't make sense to me, but I know just from personal experience from other things, MOUs are sometimes not worth the paper they're written on.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. And I want to make sure we get it right. So if Rachel can pass that information along, I'll reach out and we can go from there.
Yes, I can do that. And Chase?
Yeah, I had a comment on that. So I'm just reading that response. On the land, are they donating just access or donating the property to the state of Utah? Because that, correct me if I'm wrong, Shane, that changes things if they actually donate ownership to the state of Utah with that agreement.
I think the 6 acres that they're using as matching money, I thought that would be transferred. The other is just allowing access,
Just
correct?
allowing motorized access. Okay.
To the
Yeah.
trails that exist right
There,
now.
there are probably a few different ways that they could guarantee OHV access in perpetuity. I don't know exactly what they have in mind or what their attorney might have in mind. And so I can chat about that with the attorney and see if they had a thought on that or what they were planning to do moving forward, and then report back to Rachel as to what the landowners had in mind versus what might be acceptable to the division or the advisory council.
And as I understand it, and Rachel can correct me if I'm wrong, but there is, what was it, 17 acres or 12 acres, or I can't remember the exact number. It's not being donated to the state or to the county or to the city. It's being donated to this group, this Southwest, help me, Rachel. What is that group called?
Southwest Heritage.
Yes. And then the remaining acreage owned by this particular person, approximately 6,000 acres, has the trails on it. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, so it is actually, so the individual who's donating this land, they're donating, and I can't remember the exact acreage of land that they're donating to this nonprofit for the continuation of so this is a portion of their entire project. So the big picture item is that it will also be like part of a heritage center. So they're donating that land, and that's partially their match for it. But then the owner, his name is Frank Nichols. He actually had, with that 6,000 acres of land, he's opened it for the public to use, and he's actually built OHV trails on it. So a lot of this grant has to do with the signage, the kiosks of that, and also, so for us, I think it's more so just making sure that the OHV access is in place.
That makes sense. And like I said, I think there are probably several ways to go about doing that. One of which might be through an MOU. It might take some sort of other form as well. But
I'd prefer it not be an MOU. I'd prefer it to be a something much higher than an MOU, something much more legally binding than an MOU that can't be broken through some savvy attorney in the future.
Sure. So maybe as you discuss this grant, you can make it clear what the council would prefer to see if this grant were to be approved. And based on that, I can work with the attorney to see about what type of instrument or what type of dedication might be appropriate for this.
Okay.
Other comments or questions?
Go ahead, Scott.
I always have questions and comments. This is unique. It has potential to be really neat, but it brings up a lot of questions that some of them have been answered. But the more I dig into it, the more I go, I suggest Because it looks like, we might have to get an abstractor involved in the title, searches and things like that to find out ownership and make sure that everything is kosher here. So it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take, at least a few days for this to happen. I suggest that we go down and look at the place.
I actually went down there.
Well, cool. I haven't been there.
I went down there for, I think it was 2 days, and I was able to see it. I was able to go on their trails. And so and I think they actually provided some maps. So their trails are already mapped. It's more so, a lot of them are kind of spider webbing off and making sure that their signage is up and people can understand it. But as it is right now, those trails are actually open to the public. So this, yeah.
Can I make some more comments? I have a whole page of comments on this deal. It won't take too awful long, but first of all, the 6,000 acres is not continuous. They're in different portions. They're not all hooked together. Where they're going to put this, whatever you're going to call this thing that they're going to put together, this building and structure to house this historical type of stuff, it's kind of south of a bunch of BLM property.
Yeah.
And right north of that actually is an OHV recreational area. It already has a BLM staging area. It has a bicycle staging area. It has an OHV staging area. It has camping there already. What concerned me is when I pulled up the map, it shows a whole pile of non-motorized trails in that area that go right through that area straight north of that property. And my concerns of, how that blend is going to work together with what he has there. Also, it appears to me after I did title searches on the property through there, that there are not a singular owner. There's multiple owners of property right next to where this is going to be put together. There is a ongoing mining pit there. Excuse me, not a mining pit, but a gravel pit there. I just want to make sure that we have our I's dotted or our T's crossed on this. If this parking lot's going to be put in there, it just concerns me that this is a big project and it can be a really neat project.
Yes.
What was the motivation for him wanting to give us all this property? Is there a monetary reason for that, or is it just because he has a good heart and he likes OHVs?
It's my understanding that he can use the donated land as a tax write-off, which I've not my place to comment on
It
it.
appears that there's a motel there, and also there's a.
And he owns the motel there, so it also draw in tourism for that area. But to talk on, I know that he owns the gravel pits there. Those are his. The owner who has the 6,000 acres. And I also know that the OHV trails do connect into the trail system on BLM land. And there is non-motorized trails that go through there. There is biking trails, just single track biking trails. And that is also why part of their grant, or what I recommended for them to do, is they need to sign that area and make it very clear to OHV users that this is specific to non-motorized, because you could have someone with a single track or even a motorcycle that goes through there and thinks that it's for them. So there's certain things that they just definitely need, but as it stands right now, there's no signage whatsoever. And the trails do kind of just intertwine together. And so I don't want to give my personal opinion, but when I went out there, I think it's something that is unique, but I also do see that there is a demand for it. I mean, this is something that we're actually getting. OHV land is given to us versus taken away from us.
No, actually, there isn't any land that's given to us. It was put to this heritage group, correct? That's where it's getting transferred to for a building to house historical items, correct?
Sorry, not given to us, but given to the OHV community mile-wise access.
Okay.
not physically to us.
That's the.
I still have questions. I,
Mhm. Yeah,
if nothing else, I'll go down there myself and look at it.
I think you should.
And,
Honestly,
I would, it would be nice to talk to him because like I said, when I looked at the land plats, there are multiple landowners there and maybe he's got connections with all of them. I don't know. When I talked to the BLM this morning about it, they do have occasionally issues with, motorcycles getting on the bicycle trails. They do have some issues with some of the landowners not wanting trails across their property, and they've had to deal with some of those issues. Again, I'm coming at this from this angle here. If we putting out this much money, we need to just make sure that it's a good deal.
Yeah.
And it looks like it is. It just looks like there's a guy out there that, okay, he can make a little bit of money off this. And if he can, by helping us out over here, so be it.
Yeah. Honestly, I do think that you should go down there, experience it, because I think it would change your view on it and it would help you clarify.
Scott, when you come down, let me know. I'll go with you.
Yeah.
I got an extra dirt bike. You gonna come with me on a dirt bike?
No, I'll go with you on an ATV or a side-by-side.
Okay.
I'll keep up with you.
Real quickly, is it okay if Jason online speaks? Okay.
Go ahead, Jason.
Okay, I just had, looking at this, there's a lot here, and it sounds like we're still working on land transfer agreements or easements or whatever it's going to be. And my thought is hold off until that's completed, or just fund a smaller portion of this. There's a lot to it. There's 4 phases that have been listed in this grant, and they're not planned till clear out in 2023 and 2024. And so my thought is I'd like to support this. I think it's a great great project, but maybe we need to do it one piece at a time.
Chase?
No, I just wanted to go down there too.
Everyone just wants
I had a couple of comments. One is I was concerned also about how much non-motorized or how much it'll benefit motorized versus non-motorized. And then the other thing is I felt like the recognition of the OHV program and of the FIG grants was kind of light. They mentioned, let's see if I can find it.
And I can.
I was looking at it just a minute ago. Give me just a second. Okay. They will announce the FIG on our website, on all of our correspondence, sign-in sheets. To anyone who uses the OHV trails, I would like to see some recognition of the Utah Division of Recreation and the OHV program on, in a more significant way on the kiosks or the signs, something like funded in part by State of Utah OHV program. I just thought what they put for recognizing the FIG program was a little bit not as significant as I would like to see it. So if we did fund it, I would want to add that they put something on the kiosks and they put something on, if they're putting up a parking lot or whatever.
Okay. Any other discussion?
So Rachel, what if when's our next FIG meeting going to be? And if we were to hold off on this to give us a little time to go down and see this very gigantic project in person, some of us, and then relook at this at the next meeting, would that be a possibility? Without them having to, we can either hold it off and get some clarification, or we can encourage them to resubmit with some changes.
I don't see an issue with that.
What does the council think overall, and do do we have a motion on that, or do we need more discussion before a motion is made?
I think it could be good to come back just because that gives them more time to work through some of the legal aspects of what it is exactly we're funding and if it's ready to be funded. Because otherwise I just see this sitting here and potentially not funding other projects that might be ready to go. I just see this being, I don't know, it doesn't seem like easements or land things ever move very fast. So
It will take.
it'll
some
just take some time. Even with willing participants, it takes time. So I could see postponing.
What about funding, like $10,000 or something to do title work and research into it? It's just a thought because they are going to have to do some title work on this. I guarantee you, if we want a document it's binding, there'll be some title work done. And there's a lot of property owners through there. I don't know if you pulled up a land plat on it, but I'm telling you, there is chunks all over in there that, and he probably has connections to many of them, but not all of them.
It's
not all on board.
my understanding that a lot of the land that is not his, it's land that he's donated to people or sold to people.
Well, some of the land is patented, mining patents, okay? And so they'd have to look into that. So it's going to cost a little bit of money, and I don't want them having to pay for it. If we're, I don't know if we can we do that?
Yeah. Also, we can have a field trip. I'm okay with that.
Would that just be the part one of this, since it's listed as the land and gravel transfer?
I would think that
would be
that
like
would
phase
be,
one.
and
I'll make a motion to fund part one of this application.
Okay, can you repeat that? You cut out just a little bit.
Sorry, I'll make a motion to fund part one of this application.
Do I have a second, or is there more discussion before we're ready for a
that is for
second?
the full amount, correct?
What did they call out as the phase one?
Phase one is the acres. So
That really isn't this with fake funding, right?
yeah. So the first half is the land transfer. And then they want to map existing trails and the land appraisal. And then they want to begin the construction of the plaza kiosk area as well as the first building.
Still saying the legal order stuff in.
The problem is I'm not seeing where it is broken down on page 2 of the budget, these different sections, but there's no numbers in there. It's just the action, the action of land transfer.
So maybe we need to just totally hold off on any funding until we can go down there, take a look, and get the attorney involved with some thoughts and ideas, and then maybe we can help them, and Rachel can help them to tighten this request up and clean it up a little bit. It is a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, there really is.
My concern, I don't want the landowner paying for this. If this is a project that we're doing, I think we ought to be willing to cough up and say, here's some money. Let's do it, because there are going to be lawyers involved in it. There's going to be title people involved in it. And I can't conceive this not costing $5,000-$10,000. I'm just telling you that I've done title stuff before, and it's not cheap, and it doesn't happen overnight. That's my suggestion.
So if we make the recommendation to just fund $10,000, but can we be specific as to how it's spent?
Sure.
Such as title work only and nothing else. I don't know if we'd want to invest into signs and kiosks and everything else if in the end it just doesn't work out.
Yeah, so it would be to assist with legal documentation.
Yes.
Would be what the funding is.
Yeah, so on there, on that page 2 of the budget, for the first half of 2022, which I guess is phase 1, they have listed the following items. They have land transfer, and then they have GPS map existing trails, then land appraisal, and then design on the plot on the kiosk, design on the first building. The problem is when I go back where there's numbers, that land transfer, I don't see dollars tied directly to that action. If there were dollars tied directly to it, I think it would be easier for us to say, okay, we'll fund that for now.
Eric, do you have a comment?
Yes, I do. So, the beauty of the FIG grant process is that we don't have to wait a year. It's it's every quarter. And, I agree with all you guys. I mean, this sounds like a great deal, and we definitely don't want to slow it down at all. But at the same time, let's get all the ducks in a row and submit this the right way. Can they use that $10,000? Do they want to use that $10,000 for land transfer? Maybe he's got a lawyer in his pocket that, can help him with this, and it's not going to cost him that much. I feel like that we're making a lot of assumptions here with a lot of decisions. So that's my input.
Do we wanna, there was a motion that was.
So how do we
done.
proceed?
So
We have to come up with idea how we're gonna,
We just have to have someone make a motion to postpone this and have them reapply.
right, so before we do that, there was a motion to fund the first phase. I did not get a second on that motion. And so that motion, what's the term, fails? That motion
Doesn't. pass.
does not progress.
but that motion would have been the full amount, correct?
We don't know. That's a
We,
good-
we don't know. That's the problem is
Okay.
our discussion is we don't know what
hard to
makes
say.
that up.
Do we-
So if there's a different motion, I would entertain that.
I believe we need to discuss how we proceed from this point. I think it needs a little bit of discussion. What about the rest of the council? How, we can't just say, hey, okay, we'll wait till next grant cycle.
Without
And
some direction.
we
on
need
what-
some direction.
What needs to be different.
I mean, I think we've stated what needs to be different is we want them to work through the legal documentation more so that we
That's what we're saying,
understand
isn't it?
specifically what we're funding.
And we want them to pay for it, don't we?
Potentially, or to work out the details. I mean, we've got the state, remind me, this is the first time we've met him.
Assistant Attorney General.
Yes, Shane. He's on this call. He said he's more than willing to meet with them and discuss the legal documents. Let them do that. Let them work through that and then come back again the next cycle. I don't see there's a big loss there to do
They
that.
have a draft of a legal document of what they want. That's something we've done in the past with land stuff, like private land access as well as ownership transfer. And that's something more tangible that could be moved forward.
I
A
think-
draft legal
I
document.
think even them breaking out their budget in the phases and how much it's going to cost. And also, do we want to have them with the legal items?
And Rachel, what if we ask them to break out each phase into its own separate big grant? Instead of all right now, we just do that. We put this off for 3 months. We go down, we visit, you come down, we have a discussion with them. The attorney has a discussion with them about the land use access. We encourage them and help them to redo this grant in 4 separate grants over a period of 2 years or whatever it might be.
Hey, Rachel.
Yes, Fred?
I mean, just listening to everybody here, but we're dependent on our attorney to go down and find out what's really going on. We need to let him do that. I think the project is great, but also he's got to go through permitting and everything else. He might be a year out just getting all these permits before he can finalize it.
Yeah.
And so to me, I would just fund the program on the basis of getting the land over to the state or the access. What we're after is the access, and approve the grant because it's a good thing to do. I mean, when I've rode down there, I didn't ride that area, did we, Broad?
Yes, some of that area at that one rally was on that property.
Oh, okay. So I mean, that's quite a ways out before you start seeing a whole bunch of development. And that stuff, but I think
Well,
let the
nobody thought that
attorneys,
there would be a hotel, a campground, and a restaurant that's actually kind of nice, a mile and a half away from the county landfill, but there it is. And so,
Can't even tell.
that's true.
I think maybe the
Anyway, I would sooner see us go ahead and fund the whole program and then put some conditions on it.
I think
They
more-
need to break it out into, if we need to. Because I bet they're going to come back for more.
Go ahead.
I was just thinking more of the expertise. Shane could help us with the legal stuff, but it would be more, I mean, Susan has helped us with all these land
Yeah.
acquisitions. That would be more down her route of expertise that I see. And maybe Shane could correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be more of us looking into it with that. And we can connect this person with Susan if that's still a viable option.
Yeah, I think it is. I feel like we need to make a decision if we want to recommend this or not recommend this, or make,
Proposal.
Huh?
I'll make a proposal.
Okay.
I'll make a proposal that we put off funding this grant until next cycle. Then they can put together a better product to sell to us. So I right now suggest that we put this project off until the next cycle of FIG.
Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
Okay. Is there a second on that motion?
I second it.
Okay.
That's Brody.
do we want to name call?
Yeah, let's do a roll call.
Cheryl, I.
Ron, aye.
Scott, aye.
Brody? Well,
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Fred?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Tyson?
Aye.
Okay, so we're going to, motion has been made to hold this and have them come back next grant cycle with more information as well as their legal documentation completed.
And Rachel, if we can add to that, just on the side note to that we will be coming down and visiting with them, a group of us, however many as can, including yourself, and come down and visit them and talk about this, let more of us see it and give them some suggestions and ideas.
Yeah.
Well, making sure they know that like this is an exciting opportunity. I think it's really exciting to see a private landowner being willing to consider not only consider access, but to look at a bunch of miles of access on their property. So it's just doing it the right way. But
Yeah.
I think it's a really exciting thing to see.
And maybe we can also encourage them to look at some of these other opportunities for different grants, like some of these non-motorized grants to sell the bike trails and the hiking trails and whatever else, and the tourism aspect of it. And maybe we could bring a person or two from that side of it as well.
Yeah, and when I visited them, I told them that I would give them a bunch of different grants that were available, especially like historic grants and stuff to help out. And I dropped the ball on that one, so that's my fault. I know. All right, okay. Moving on.
I hope so.
Okay. So number 2, it's with the Ashley National Forest for Law Enforcement SAR OHV. It is multi-county. They're requesting $44,000. Total project cost is $59,135. So far, the score from our advisory council is 83.3, and my screen does not want to move over. It is a SAR project. Any discussion?
Rachel, can you pull up the numbers? This is Eric, sorry. Can you pull up the numbers on our budget?
Yes. You want? So it's this one.
Maybe slide over on your sheet.
Do you want to see like the SAR categories?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so this is SAR.
Okay. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Any comments or questions? Scott,
Is this the one, this is Brody, is this the one that, yeah, it's got the law enforcement aspect to it. Has that been clarified? I
Yeah.
believe it has been.
I don't know if you guys saw the clarification email. I did reach out to Eric because I was a little concerned just because, again, my understanding of our law enforcement officers on the UWC, they spend the majority of their time in law enforcement. But in talking to him, he does a lot that is call outs, this person hasn't come back, those kinds of things on the OHV routes out there. A lot of education, checking after big wind events, things like that. So I felt really comfortable with his response that they just have a little different operation. It sounds like in a lot of the places he works, the local county search and rescue efforts are also much smaller. And so it sounds like he plays a bigger role than here I'm used to Ellie and I working very close with the county search and rescue. So it was good to get his clarification. I felt better after getting that.
Scott, did you have a comment?
That young lady over there answered my question.
I had the same question.
Yeah. So one, this is Ron. One question or concern I had is they marked that it's 100% OHV related. But then when you dig into the text, they mention that, and this is quoting, it said that the calls involved OHVs to some degree, either by the person requesting assistance or the responding rescue element. And that kind of made me wonder, they were considering it an OHV related rescue, even if, like, I can perceive a hiker gets lost, but if they use an OHV to do the rescuing, they were counting it as an OHV incident. That's the way the wording was. I don't know if that was the intent, but it does make me wonder about, I just wish the application was more clear about the benefit to OHV users. Because
Yeah.
it seemed to kind of, I didn't like that language. It
And
didn't
even
sit well with me.
talking to, because I actually called him too and followed up with the call. And I think, he was saying in his normal rig, that's where he's doing all the stuff along the main roads, the access hiking trails, things like that. This is specifically to get into the OHV routes. So it could be a hiker that's lost, that they use an OHV route to go down and get. I'm not sure.
And I
But
think that's where he's coming at, because I talked to him on this, is he's in an area that's OHV heavily used,
Yeah.
but a call for help is a call for help.
Right.
And coming from that side, that's where that verbiage comes from.
Yeah.
He's going to respond as in an OHV capacity, but it may be for anyone that needs help.
Right. And I understand that. But if the grant's supposed to be for the person, like, we're supposed to consider, one of the questions in this thing is we're supposed to consider the percentage of OHV use compared to the percentage that was asked to be funded by OHV funds. And I think that amount was, is it 75% of the total project was to be
Related to OHV.
funded by FIG. I would like to have seen the number in here to show that at least 75% of what the money would be used on would be for OHV.
I
related.
would estimate 75% or more would directly involve OHVs.
It does say that?
While the remainder would very likely require an OHV to get responders to the scene.
Okay.
It's in a little different spot. It's.
Yeah, there's a lot of
in the-
numbers. There's
it's in there
35% somewhere.
regarding, like, how many incidences do you anticipate it will
Right.
benefit part of it? So it's not in like the
Okay.
main description, but it's a good clarification. I don't even know if I saw that in there last time.
Good. Yeah, I see that.
Any other
No,
discussion?
I don't know if I picked up on that part either until you were talking and I'm reading through. I'm like, oh, there's more.
Would we like to score?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Cheryl, you know I'm starting with you.
Yes.
Oh, just kidding. That is not you.
You didn't even start with me right now.
I tried. All right, Brody,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Mason,
I had been on this one. I'm on UNT County Search and Rescue, and I thought that letter written by the sheriff might, I didn't want to see it as being skewed.
I know, and I just ignored the red mark from
That's
you.
The big red box.
Yeah, the big red box. Sorry, my bad. Fred,
Yes.
okay. Eric,
Yes.
and then I believe Kirk is not here. So Ron,
Yes.
okay. That application passes. We're going to delete that. I just want to double check. Great. Okay. So on to number 3. This is Tread Lightly Ethics and Safety Education Campaign. I have a little bit of discussion on this that I can speak on behalf of. So this is from Sand Hollow State Park. They are requesting a little under $5,000 for a total project cost of $13,500. This application, I believe, is just solely education based. So Sand Hollow actually applied on behalf of Tread Lightly, just because right now, if we were to put a agreement in place, we can only do agreements with state entities or government entities. And so I've reached out with them, and I've also worked with our attorney on this regarding it. Ultimately, if it gets recommended, we can either do there's some contractual stuff that we'll have to figure out, or we can just wait until our rules change, which is July 1st of this year, when we merge with Office of Outdoor Rec and become Division of Outdoor Recreation. Ultimately, that is on our end and for us to figure out, so I wouldn't let it confuse anyone.
They have a major cash match in there too. So that's good to see, a huge cash match.
I thought it was a really creative new way for education. I'd be curious to see how it works.
Yeah,
To me, it sounds like it would engage the trail users out on the ground.
Is this the same one they're working on for prizes?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought it was a really great way to kind of think outside the box to help. I mean, it does two things. It helps orient the OHV users, but it also helps them with recreating responsibly. It reminds me when Cheryl was at Pleasant Grove, and they would do these outreach things on Saturdays, and sometimes you would have the clubs go do the outreach because people were more responsive to a club member in a Jeep than they were a ranger in a uniform.
For sure.
And that's kind of what that's kind of where my mind went when I saw this is it's kind of a modern version of that, where they're interacting with the kiosk and they're interacting with the videos and there's the prizes. And I loved that there was multiple sponsors and multiple partners involved in it. It really got a lot of people on board with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've already put some products out, like as far as we've seen them in the program, and it's coming along nicely. They have some tangible things already that's already started.
Yeah, and all of their promotional things, sorry, I think the food is here. All their promotional items, or not promotional, sorry, their tread lightly or ethic items or education, we ask that it be reviewed by us prior, just to confirm that it was,
You want me to go grab it?
yeah, actually, do you wanna? Thanks. Just to make sure that there wasn't any misinformation being provided, especially now that, I mean, July 1st is usually when a lot of the rules change. So they were more than willing to work with me on that and provide us examples and the language that they intend to use.
You ready to rank it?
I think so. Is there any online discussion? No? Okay. All right. Cheryl, I will not start with you.
Yeah.
Brody?
Yes.
We need drivers. It's, they want us to know if I can go get it. Do you want me to just go grab it?
Yes, please. Sorry.
Is it already paid for?
Yeah, it's already paid for. Tip and everything.
I'll just come up with it.
Okay.
Should have had him show up and have it not be paid for too.
Let's
No,
go
just
back to
like
third.
us.
I'm getting hungry.
Okay, sorry. Jason?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Tyson?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
And Cheryl?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to the next one. This is with Fish Lake National Forest. It's the Paiute Trail Maintenance for 2023. They are requesting $130,000 and the total project cost is $240,000, 245. Anyways, that number. I apologize. It's going to be a 46% match. For everyone that was able to go in and review, it is, their submittable score was 96.9, and this is for trail work.
Any comments?
No discussion?
Doesn't sound like it.
Okay.
Should we
Yeah.
rank it?
Okay, I'm starting with Jason.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Tyson.
Yes.
Fred.
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
Ron.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Brody.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a tourism application. Oh, sorry. This is a tourism application. It is from Farron City. It is for the promotional advertisement of Farron area trail systems. It's going to take place in multiple counties. They're requesting $45,375. Total project cost of $71,931. 37% match. The submittable score is 53.6. There was a comment from the applicant, written comment from the applicant,
It was the first one
I believe
of
so.
our public comments. Any comments?
I have a comment.
Okay.
Actually, I talked to her. Of all the grants for the promotional items in here, this is the only one that put in a cash match. You know, they put $3,300 of cash in there. So I spoke to her about if she felt that it had made a difference last cycle, and she was very adamant that it did. But at our last FIG meeting, if you remember what I said, if somebody put a dime in there, I would at least look at their grant. Well, they put $3,300 of cash into this. And so I was willing to dig into it and look a little bit at it. And I would be much more willing to say yay on funding at least some of it, just because they put money into it. That's my 2 cents.
one of the other things that I think we discussed quite a bit is on these promotional ones as we were last round, as we were concerned about how do we gauge the effectiveness of it and whether or not it's reaching people, whether or not it's doing what we want it to do. And like Scott said, you know, in the comments, they have made an attempt to try and survey people who are in the area visiting, and they were able to receive some feedback that some of them had learned about that area through some of the prior grants that they through some of the prior advertising. And so I thought that was a pretty good effort. It seemed to me like this applicant
Listen to our.
internalized some of the concerns we had at that last meeting and addressed them.
Speak some more.
What are the online people?
Sorry.
Are there any
Yes,
hands
I
up
was sorry.
there? I
I'm trying
imagine
to make
there's.
sure to- Okay, are there any online comments? No, or discussion?
I have some more to say. Actually, I didn't get finished.
Oh, you didn't? Go ahead.
No, you realize I want to talk.
Oh, that's true. Sorry, I just.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I realize that we've had some discussion and some feedback from up the food chain on, you know, what the FIG funds should be used for and what they should not be used for. Some of these is not just black and white areas. It's got multiple shades of coloring in there. And last year we spent a lot of money on promotional items, a huge amount of money. And that was a little bit to do with the 50-year program. And it went way over budget. We had some parameters, and last year we pulled those parameters off. I get the impression those parameters are going to be put back on. And if they do, you know, last year, I think we spent 25% of our FIG money for promotional stuff. We can't keep it at that level. I don't believe that's appropriate at all. Should we have some promotional stuff? I believe if it's intermixed with some PR, and I do believe that promotional stuff has some PR to it. How do we balance this out? I get the impression from this letter that we received that there's other avenues to receive monies from other ends or other avenues to do promotions for communities. I'm not privy to that. I would have to push that back. I'm sure there are a lot of grants out there, but and I realize these small communities, they don't have a lot of money to put in and match grant money. How do we deal with that? Are we supposed to be dealing with that? Or other agencies supposed to be dealing with that? What is the intent of FIG from this letter that I got is that we're not supposed to be doing the promotional land.
I'm curious too, how that letter plays into applications like this for this cycle.
Yeah, we've got hands up from Jason and from Eric, and then I think I'd like to hear Chase's input on other ways that these types of projects can be funded with funds other than FIG, because that's my understanding as well, is that that's an option. I don't know what order we want to take him in. I guess Eric, since you've unmuted him.
Oh, Eric, do you want to?
Or is now down?
Sorry, I just absolutely would love to hear Chase and his direction as, you know, the program manager. I mean, ultimately we definitely want to align what we're doing with the program. So yeah, I'd love some clarification. Okay,
and Jason, I noticed your hand came back down. Do you still have a comment?
Let's hear what Chase has to say.
Okay. All right.
Everyone's
We're
like,
a bunch of we want to know what you
well, I think we all have the same question. How does that letter relate to applications like this?
Yeah, so kind of the future of this program, and now we're able to kind of look into kind of what the future holds for mapping and GPS stuff and all that stuff. So I mean, kind of some future visions I have is I want it to be all provided in one area and also accessible to all of our community users. And so I mean, the technology now is not what it was even 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And so, working with these smaller communities, we're going to be able to, like I said, I want to cast a wider net. And so I'm thinking more on the side of, trail mapping and stuff like that. We can provide help regionally and work with these communities to get digitized options that's more available in one central area. And I mean, that would be my comment to promotional stuff like that, is making it available for everyone, not just one area or one website or, one kiosk. So that's kind of my views and opinions on that.
And that's more for the mapping, right? Because we have like the mapping, like 360 projects that are typically tied in with then more of the like at your leisure videos and advertisements, right? So I see like we have kind of two different proposals in here. So
So there's the mapping, and then
how does it apply to more of the advertising ones?
so on the promotional stuff, I mean, we've talked about making it more available with like a RFP or request for proposal, so that they get kind of the biggest bang for their buck on that option. And so everyone has equal access to be able to provide a resource for them on that level, if that makes sense.
And you're talking about outside of the FIG.
Mhm.
So grant or a application like this or something similar could approach the state OHV program directly without getting involved in applying for a grant, could approach the state program directly with this type of a project and have potential vendors put in a RFP, request for proposal
for everyone.
And that could be done with other funding without having to dip into these FIG funds. Is that
correct? And maybe Shane's still on, or
Shane is still on.
Yeah.
Do we want to?
Fred's got a hand up, and Scott's always got a hand up. So
Yeah.
he's always next, right? No, you're
Sit
good.
like this, yeah, all the time.
Well, especially when I've turned late.
Hey, Fred,
Punch me in the back.
your hand's up. Do you want to go?
Scott just needs to sit like.
Yeah, I know every little town down in our area that is trying to do the 360 and do the mapping and trying to advertise their own thing and put their own web page. I'm just wondering why the state don't take that over, build a map of all the trail system on the Utah webpage that they can go in and click on a section and pull down the mapping that they need so that everybody knows you go to the Utah State Parks to pull the mapping down. Because we're going to be inundated. And I hate to see all these little towns go without, but I think it's getting carried overboard because they're going to every little town. I mean, if there's 100 people in that town, they're requesting mapping and everything else.
You guys are having this conversation. I'll go.
So Fred, was that a comment for anyone in particular on that, or?
Just all the projects that are like this. We have quite a few that are similar. We usually do.
Is this Chase?
Oh.
Yes. Did you want to?
Yeah, the comment I would like to make is even the mapping stuff has a promotional bend to it. There's other things in there, but they're tied to the promotional towns at the same time. But the 360 imaging is the whole package on the trail stuff isn't necessarily, it's more than just a trails package. And a lot of the data already is out there. All it needs to do is be pulled together, cleaned up, and have it in different formats. I have events on here, and I have a whole stack of maps of different places and data. You know, I'll have to say that, you know, I have spent a lot of time this last 2 weeks looking at different websites. I would just go on the internet and I would pull up and say, hey, I want to look at OHV trails. I want to look at motorcycle trails and see what I got. There was a lot there to try to funnel through. Now, if I got on YouTube, I could say, I want to go ride the 5 miles of hell. And there'd be 20 videos that I could watch. And I would have a pretty good idea if I hadn't went through it. If I wanted to go behind the reef, there was 10 videos in there that I could watch. Now, I went to some other websites that actually had some good imaging in. They had good pictures in. They had data there. You know, how much funding, like I says, do we as a council need to decide how we are going to put this together? I think we are kind of somewhat the experts. I believe that there's other people we can pull in and say, hey, how do we want to put this together? How much money do we want to spend on this? How are we going to disseminate this out to individuals that are coming in here that maybe are not tech savvy? I want to go do this, and go, well, I don't know how to get there. Well, there are a ton of websites out there, and
Yeah, well, and that's why after our last council meeting, you know, I sat with this whole map thing for a long time. I actually reached out to our GIS folks. They do mapping for both the Wasatch Cache and the Ashley, because I was like, we've got communities putting in to digitize trails that are on National Forest System lands that are already digitized. And for me, that was part of my concern, is like, we've already got that data. And I wonder how many locations that is the same for. And I think the issue is we don't have a central location. There's a roads central location through the state that they have. You can go and look, and it doesn't matter whose jurisdiction it is, you can get that data. We don't have one for trails. And that's why I presented that to Rachel, because otherwise what I see happening is just all these different entities making all these different maps, having all these different websites. And I, as a user, still can't find it. I don't know that I need to go to this county for these maps and this website for these maps and this person over here for different maps. So I just feel like at the end of the day, I do hope we can move more towards that effort. The other thing for me is quality of information. Like, I know the Forest Service, for instance, would be more than happy to partner with the state to provide our digitized trails, to review their accuracy, to again, make sure the accurate trail systems are out there, because I can't even tell you how many trail maps are out there that are providing inaccurate information to the users. And not only is that a huge issue for the users, but it's also a huge issue for the land managers, because people are like, no, this app says that this is a legal trail. And it's like, it is not a legal trail. So it's to me, you've got to have a source where you can have that quality checks and balances.
Cheryl, this 360 or the grant applications in here is way more than just digitizing a map. That's fairly easy to do. I can sit down on Google Earth and digitize, several miles very easily and upload it, convert it to a GPX file or a Google file, and have that available to somebody else. I'm not sure how. I have some concerns about the 360 imaging. Right now, I don't think they have that perfected. I have seen some stuff that's actually pretty good, but right now, I think we need to somehow, as a council, sit down and hash out. We need a central location. The URGC, no, what is it? AGRC, no, it's a UGRC now. They do have stuff on trails in there. You can pull up, and actually I can see mountain bike trails in there. And so there's information that can be put in there. It is going to take a ton of work to try to put this down and categorize it. On the other end, I'm going to hammer on the federal agencies. Do you realize how long it takes them to go through a mapping project? Or
and locations.
The Santa Fe Desert has taken 15 years.
But there's a whole lot of places in the state that are much more known and established.
I understand that.
So there may be areas that we're not there for yet, but I would still rather knowing that the state, the partners, and that land management entity were all working together to get that part of the map populated, right? Then it feeling like who's doing what and who's managing this map, right? Because I just think that's where you'd see like, okay, these are all the places we do have known maps for. These are the places that are still, whether they're working through their process, they're working through travel management, those might not be able to be up on the map yet, but there's a whole lot of places that could be up on a map and all in a central place.
So this specific grant is one of the promotional
Yes.
grants.
Yep.
I've got quite a bit I would like to say about the mapping, but I want to delay that
promotional, yep.
discussion. My comments on that for one of those, which will be down, not too far down the line. And so I'm going to refrain from commenting about the mapping, but this specific grant is about the promotion. Is there any, and I'm not trying to derail the
I
conversation
think
at
the hard
all.
part is they're both
Yeah,
at the
they
same time.
kind of
Because they usually do like a mapping and a promotion kind of at the same time. So I feel like they're very intertwined, but I agree, Ron. Yeah, let's get going with this.
Is there more comment or thoughts on this? You got somebody online, Eric?
Yes, so, sorry, Chase, this is directed at you one more time. I don't know that the answer I got was clear enough for me to make a decision here. The question was, what about, does this fall under the purview of, our new direction, not our new direction, but our clarified direction? And both of them, mapping and promotion. I feel like they're both, I don't know that they were covered in that letter. And so I just like a little bit more clarification if you were able to do that, Chase.
Okay, yeah, so from the mapping, we discussed on, having, make sure the maps are done kind of more in a central location and partnering, because we're not a land managing agency, anymore with a lot of the state parks. So we would have to work in alliance with Forest Service and Bureau of Land Management. And we want to make sure the trails coming out are the correct and best method for our users so that we don't get things shut down. And so I think that's the route that we would like to go going forward, is having more of a unified alliance to work with these small communities and making sure they get these trails. And we're also making resources available for all users. If people want the paper maps, we have that. If people want the GPX and KML files, we'll be able to have that. If people want to use their own applications, because everyone has their preferences, we have abilities to meet that need. So it's for the future of the OHV community. As far for the promotional stuff, again, we want to go down more of a direction of a equal route for all people or all businesses to be able to apply for and meet that need on that request for proposal, and being able to get the biggest bang for our buck, especially when we're providing money for this. That would be that ability on there. Is that going to help answer?
So would your recommendation for these promotional things be that we do not move them forward for FIG funding, but rather that they go through the state, through this other avenue to look at these?
Yeah, we'll be able to
Help them in a different direction.
Help them in a different way than through
Okay.
FIG funds.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
Do we want to score and do a?
Is that something we can make a motion on to move these in the direction of letting state parks deal with them separate from the FIG grant?
The promotional ones? Is that what you mean? Is that for all the promotional ones or?
Yes.
I mean, the motion's made.
I'll second that.
To everybody?
Okay, let's vote.
To move all of the promotional ones Right, what was the motion?
Yeah, can you repeat the motion, Jason?
Sure. I move that we move these promotional applications over to state parks and away from the FIG program.
You mean Division of Outdoor Recreation? Sorry.
Division of Outdoor, yep, that's exactly what I meant.
So
Before we move that, I mean, I just want to get clarification on what Shane would like to say on, if he has anything on that, just so I'm not speaking out of turn.
No, I don't have anything more to add than what you've talked about, Chase. So from what I hear, I think that's an appropriate motion to make.
I would, I think we need to clarify exactly which ones we're talking about. I have numbers that I've identified groups, but I'm in a different order and I have one less grant than what shows on your list. So
Do you?
I do. I have 21 and you have 22.
Oh, it's because I removed
But,
you from,
Oh, that's right, because
yeah.
I was taken off of
Because
that
if you
one.
start scoring.
So I don't know what numbers to call them.
So this is for the promotion?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me know if I
10 to
10.
1 up.
Oh, jeez. Just those.
Would have been 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them.
What am I missing? Advertising, yeah. So 5, 6, 9, 10, and 14.
So can we clarify the motion?
Yeah, do you want me to restate that?
I think so.
Okay, so I move that we move, that we move the projects, project 5, 6, 9, 10, and 14 to the Division of Recreation to administer funding to those as they see fit and take them off of the FIG program.
What about 23?
What was that?
23 is a separate application. That's
not a.
Yeah, it's not a promotion one. This is coming from them directly. I believe, did you speak with them?
Which
Cache Valley?
No, I didn't.
That's a different, that's a different one.
It's a different
It's
one.
not related.
It's mapping,
Not
it's not
related.
promotion.
So we have that motion. Scott, you had made a second a moment
Yes,
ago.
yes.
Does your second
Yes.
need to be restated, maybe? Okay, well, let's go ahead and vote on that.
Cheryl, I.
Ron?
Aye.
Let's see. Brody?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Fred?
Aye.
And Tyson?
Aye.
Okay. Jason's good because he made it.
So on these applicants, can we notify them that they can approach the OHV program, or are these applications just being forwarded for the Department of Recreation to look at for other funding options, or?
I think that it's something that they could approach us on, and they should approach us on, because it was discussed that we will be the one handling these going forward. So I think that it would probably be a meeting that we set up and with the applicants.
Would that be actually the entity that they need to approach or will be approaching? It almost seems to me that it would be another organization besides what we're associated with, not necessarily with the FIG, but it would be through an economic end, through the state funding, as opposed to a recreational end. I don't know. I don't know what avenues there are out there, but, and I guess it is a recreational land they're trying to promote, but there has to be some entities out there that they would fit into this
I'm sure These
niche.
guys can point them in the right,
Yeah.
right direction.
Correct, yes.
Because we do have a Office of Tourism.
Right,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah. And
There's too many different names.
there really is.
Yeah, definitely want to make sure they get the right contacts though to move forward.
Okay. All right. Do we want to do a working dinner and just grab food, drinks, there's salad? And then we start with the other grants?
Sure. Or give us 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes. Hey, Paul,
Go ahead.
we are going to take a 5-minute break.
I'll put 5 minutes on the clock. If you would mute on your side, please.
Thank you.
On what right you
And
them on what right you.
the problem is getting them.
This
Not necessarily because they haven't been stocked. It's just like my bike.
I'll give you a call. I'll give you a call.
I haven't got enough time. I haven't eaten
Hey,
all.
you said 5 minutes.
20 hours.
should have said 10.
All right. I know we're all eating, but we want to move on and do a working dinner. All right.
Actually, to these.
Want me to lead?
So are we back connected, or is Paul gonna
To go
announce that we're, actually, you know what, I can just look at
to
you.
preserve these trails.
Okay. Paul, are we back on?
Which is one of their goals.
He normally tells us
You're
in
sending
addition to the timer.
That's true.
across the level. All they're doing is tearing up the trails. They aren't.
Enjoy themselves.
Hey,
Yeah,
Paul.
it says we're still on break,
Oh, we are still on break?
is what it,
I'm just kind of disappointed because
Paul,
Sorry, I
we'll
had to
just.
go grab a computer.
Oh,
You're
you're
live.
okay. You're live? We're live. All right. So continuing on, we're now on number 7, which is the Summit County SAR, Search and Rescue. For Summit County, they're requesting $42,000 with a total project cost of $56,000. The rating online is 86.4. This is obviously a SAR project. Let me go back to presenting. So Summit County. Is there any discussion on this? Go ahead.
I called and talked to them a little bit about it, and actually, I asked them if they had any figures of how many OHV rescues they've had out there, and they did get back to me today, and they said that information they didn't have. My concern reading the grant, actually, how often would these be used for non-motorized activities? And right in the grant application, they said crowd control and getting through crowds and music events. And so I had some concerns about it on that end. And but they did say they had 9, she had 9 confirmed OHV rescues last year. And what that means, I'm not 100% sure if it means that they used OHVs to rescue them, or actually if they were on OHVs when they needed to be rescued. I didn't ask that question.
Okay.
No comment from others?
Is there any other comments regarding this application?
Yeah, I think Scott, I had kind of the same difficulty of trying to understand the difference of how they were calculating their numbers as far as kind of things on, the Spring Canyon, OHV trail system, the Soapstone trail system. Those are some of our most heavily used OHV trail systems that are in Summit County. And they're such a great partner for the Heater Camas Ranger District. So I will say that I know they're very active partners in those areas.
And that's all I needed.
Yeah.
I needed
Well, and
that information.
Dano Howardy, he did the letter of support. And again, they're a county that we work very closely with. So I believe they would put this to use on those very heavily utilized OHV routes.
Yeah, Spring Canyon, also Murdoch Basin.
Yeah,
they're
Murdoch
all in the
Basin.
Same area.
Yeah.
And Murdoch Basin, if you don't know, is a 50-inch trail
Yeah.
system on some parts.
Right.
And
All in
the
Summit
one
County.
We're seeing the heavy use of soapstone, so.
Yeah, so all in Summit County, but I'll just give that feedback, but they're a great partner to work with.
Let me go back to hearing. Is there any other discussion on this? Okay, move on to scoring. Give me 1 second. All right. But
Yes.
Tyson,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Carol.
Yes.
Ready?
Yes.
And Jason.
Yes.
Okay. On to the next one, and obviously Cheryl is going to abstain. It is for the 2023 Uinta Wasatch Cash Motorized Program Grant. Multi-county, they're requesting $350,000 for a total project cost of $518,000, 32% match. The submittable score is 97.9. Is there any discussion? And just to be clear, there will be no public comment on it. Because we have to
You
be,
can't say anything, can you?
yeah, lips are sealed. So, is there any discussion on this application? Hold on one second, I will look who it is. Jason?
Yeah, I just want to say that this is one of the best put together applications I've ever seen since being on this committee, and good job to the applicant. I hope we can use this as an example for other applicants to use in the future.
Yeah, don't get too cocky.
Seriously, Cheryl. This is Cheryl's. Good job, Jason.
Is there any other?
No, really though, I like, there's a lot of good detail in here of what trails are getting the money, what work is going to be done. And yeah, I know it was Cheryl that put it together, and I'm not just whatever, but this is what we want to see. It would be make all of our jobs so much easier if all the applicants were this well put together.
I agree with that. Hey, Rachel, I would like to abstain from this one as well.
Okay.
That one of the letters of recommendation came from another group that I'm involved with.
Okay. And Cheryl would call me every single day, pretty much, going through her application, being like, this isn't working. What about this? So I'm happy it worked out. But yes, I will move it. Huh?
As an applicant should do.
Exactly. I'm still just gonna give her crap about it though. All right, so Eric, you're abstaining from this.
I had one quick comment. I hope that there is enough labor market available in the current job market doesn't hinder that at all. And but I think it's an ambitious project, and I look forward to seeing it happen. To me, it's really good.
My comment is, I'm not used to us giving out $350,000. So that hasn't been the past. And so I guess when I look at it, I go, wow, that's a chunk of money. And, but I believe it's going to be used wisely. And so I guess we probably, with the different parameters, I guess we need to get used to people applying for $250,000.
If I'm not mistaken, in the updated application, that is the cutoff now.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Is 350? It used to be 12,500 or 11,500.
It's quite a change.
Things are changing internally for us a lot. So we're trying to work through to see what's going to work best for us. A lot of it also what's going to work best for me, because I'm the only one doing this. And
Can't offer an explanation why we did it the way we did it.
yeah,
The cost of items have went up a little bit too.
they have.
Maybe not that much, but.
So we're going to be working on that, especially with the next grant cycle opening up. We'll keep everyone updated because we don't know. I mean, there's been discussion on making it a biannual grant. So it's for summer and like springtime usage, but there's been some pushback on that. So we we are still in the process of figuring out what's going to work best for everyone as well as internally. So, yes. Before I put this bite of salad in my mouth, do we want to score? All right. So I think I'm on Tyson.
Yes.
Okay. Fred?
Yes.
Okay. Ron?
Yes.
No Cheryl. Oh, geez. What did I do there? That work? Yeah. Okay. Brody?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Did I? Okay, great. All right, moving on to number 11. It's OHV Etiquette and Conservation Education Series for Utah Off-Roaders Alliance. The request is for $40,075. Can't do it.
Which one is that now?
So numbers 9 and 10 were the promotional grants.
Oh, okay, I was gonna
So
say, I'm
$6.
struggling with changing
all out of
numbers. The
order
numbers
for
aren't
me now.
adding up here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So we're on to number 11. Their total project cost is $60,000.
Oh, that's right.
$65.
What's the name of it?
I can't see it because
OHV
it's the OHV Etiquette and Conservation.
Okay, OHV Etiquette.
Utah
Conservation.
Off-Roaders Alliance. It has a 33% match. Currently, right now, it is at a 43.6 in submittable. And it is for education. Ron is abstaining from this.
And I'm abstaining because Utah Four-Wheel Drive Association has put in a letter of support on the grant. I don't want to appear that there's a conflict.
Oh, here we go. Okay.
Does that also bar me from commenting? Or is it only if I'm the actual applicant?
I feel like everyone else, when it pertains to them, they abstain
Okay.
historically. So,
I think.
yeah, so it's the public. All right, real quickly, let me just scroll down to the overview of it, and then I will pull up and we can discuss. Whoever raised their hand. It is Jason. Go ahead, Jason.
Is this another one of those promotional items that needed to be lumped in with the others?
I believe it is.
This one is.
I think it's different. This is being put forward by clubs, right?
Me,
Yeah.
not clubs.
Is there any discussion on this?
It looks very similar to the other promotional ones, almost ditto, other than it looks to me like they're using a different company to do the promotions through. I believe I tried to do a search on it to find this company, and that's another thing we need to bring up. If they're using subcontractors to do what they're doing, that needs to be in the application. Somehow we need to put that in the application so we can go look at maybe work that they have done. And so that's just a recommendation on my part because I couldn't find what I wanted to. Maybe I should have made a phone call on this one and I didn't.
It looks like it's with education. So that's promotion of an area.
No,
Is that what it is?
Well, I don't think it's tied specifically to like the 3 trails in like one smaller community. It sounds like it's a broader outreach effort, but my comments are still pretty similar on this one, that how is this tied in with the broader messaging and education campaign that the state wants to see for the OHV program?
And this is their budget.
Because this would be similar to the Sand Hollow one, correct? On that message.
This one is not associated with the Sand Hollow one.
Well, not, but that same.
This is still more like commercial advertising is what I pick up from the
I have some more comments if I can throw some in. We have a whole host of things coming down the pipeline now. I see the UTV market just exploding with new machines that are so more capable than they were 5 years ago. They're essentially rock crawlers. The education part of where you can use them and you shouldn't use them. The same thing with motorcycles. We have hard enduro riders that are looking for more capable places or more difficult places to go ride. Without this education process, I fear that we're going to see machines places they shouldn't be. Yet on the other hand, perhaps we need to try to develop places for those. I have people asking me to go on harder trails than we have out there. And so between training, education, peer pressure, we're going to have to get involved in that process somehow. And how do we weave into this? Because it is a promotional end. It is an educational end. And like we said, it's not all, black and white. It's just multiple colors or shades, I should say.
So from a OHV program standpoint, House Bill 180, I know Chase has been tasked with that, which has to do with education. We are, what that was. So as an OHV program, we are focusing more on OH education because there is a need for it. Also with House Bill 180, there's a lot of requirements set in place for us to make sure that we're educating all users, in-state, out-of-state. If you're coming here and you do something and you're caught doing it, like destroying property, you have to go back, court ordered, I believe. And
It's the language in the bill. The community service in the area that it was actually done with either, a private landowner and or a land managing agency, would be required to help screen that area.
So, So Chase, do you view this application very at all similarly to the ones we want to move over to pursuing it a different direction, or do you see this application different?
Kind of. It has a message of not just promoting the use of areas. It has a promotion of responsible use. It mentions tread lightly. And that's why I was wondering if it was really similar to what we improved with the Sand Hollow on that education message, which from a program standpoint, we will answer a lot of things in HB 180, but anyone providing a good education message on proper use is good for me, more than just bringing people to the area or wherever. It's bringing people to the area responsibly on that. So that's just my standpoint on viewing this, is it has that educational message too. And that's why I was asking those questions. Is it more like what we thought from Sand Hollow, or more like what you view as a promotional side of thing? It intermixes, but I guess the main point of this is where you gotta look at.
But those other promotional ones have that caveat to them also, is promoting responsible use. And so, this discussion is how do you cut that thread of pushing them out and or approving them?
I guess you just have to look at the main purpose of what the message is out there. Is it more on that promotion side, or more? Because really the Sand Hollow, right, that one, that's just what I compared to. They're still trying to promote to get to that area, but they were promoting the safety message so that no one hopefully dies out there.
Yeah.
So that's the main message, was the safety to get ahead of that. So that's where you just got to take the breadth of, or the main portion of this to decide whether it is mainly on that safety side or
I have another question. Could we ask them to provide us with what they produce and look at it? After they get, if we approve it, have, so we can see what they produced. If we approve it.
And I think that this one should also have the caveat, the same caveat that the Tread Lightly one is recommended, that we want to see the material that they are providing to the public before it's announced, because a lot, again, as I stated with the other one, a lot of our rules are changing, especially with the education aspect of things when House Bill 180 goes into full effect. Especially as the OHV program, we should be the ones making sure and clarifying that the information is correct, being provided to the public.
Which we have done that, and that's very capable of doing. That's where we've worked with on the Hunt for Prizes stuff, is we saw all the stuff and we corrected on some issues and then gave the green light on others, and it's very doable, at least on our end, to advise on the safety message.
All right, sorry, making my way there. Who is it? Fred, go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here listening about the promotions and that stuff. Every one of these little towns wants to do a little hand brochure to hand out, kind of give them an idea where they're going. Why can't we incorporate the questions or the on, like we're doing on the House Bill 180? So it's re-emphasizing what we're trying to tell people about respecting private property and everything else. And help fund the brochures, because that's what the towns are having a struggle getting and putting out. I mean, you can go to the local Forest Service and BLM and get all the mapping you want. But as far as the brochures, they want something that they can hand to the locals, or not the locals, but the people coming in to ride. That re-emphasizes what we're trying to get out.
Is this creating pamphlets? No? Fred, I don't think this is creating pamphlets.
I think he's saying that would be an alternative to doing something like this, would be to help communities with their brochures to give out instead of doing more TV or social media type releases. Is that accurate, Fred? Was that another example or idea?
Well, I know we just spent, far as the Paiute Trail, $8,000 to have brochures made up with the Paiute Trail system. Only all we did was outline it. It's not the main map.
Right.
And then we handed out to all the tourist stops and everything else, the motels, and so they can show the locals. But it gets expensive.
Yeah.
And also they can use it if they go to the shows.
Yeah. So with House Bill 180, in-state, out-of-state, if you are coming to ride here, you will have to take an education course, regardless of your age. I mean, it's brief, but it will highlight those items. So, but that's just more input regarding it, but.
So as far as HB 180, I mean, there will be some age requirements on that, just to specify there with anyone under 18, if they have that safety education course, and or if they are over 8, or the driver's license. There's a lot of language in that bill to differentiate whether you take the course or not, which we don't need to go into details here. But there will be a big outreach effort from our end, which we will work with the local entities and stuff to get that message out to all the users. And right now we are just getting the content of the education made. So right now we're not on that portion yet. So to clarify on what HB 180 will be, the big push will be towards the last, like the fall months of this year, to push that out outreach wise on there. So if that answers that question, flip there.
Is there any other discussion? Okay. I'm going to pull up the screen for scoring. Sorry, it's taking me a second to get there. I believe we are on Fred. Fred?
I said no. Forget to turn my mic on.
You're good. Eric?
No.
Cheryl?
No.
Brody?
No.
Jason?
No.
Scott?
Yes.
And Tyson?
No.
Okay.
I hope this is something though that group can also work with you guys to figure out the best way to help, assist with the education efforts, because I did love seeing different organizations coming to the table wanting to educate those user groups. So
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in this from a program
Yeah.
standpoint, just to.
how do you engage and work?
Okay. This is number 12. It's the purchase of Arga with winter backcountry rescues, water access rescues, and sand dune area rescues. It is with Grand County Search and Rescue. They're requesting $3,250 for a total project cost of $6,500, 50% request. Sorry, 50% match. Submittable score is 83.6, and it is a STAR category.
He did say it was a used machine, because I called him, I said, that's not enough money. And he goes, I know. He says, it's a used machine. I asked him, I says, it seems unusual that you'd want this type of machine to do OHV rescues. And he said there are some applications where we need to get places that people have went they shouldn't have went. And he says, I really believe this will be a tool that will help us out in some areas. So.
Yeah, and I spoke with him. He called me up, and I made sure that I was interested in the fact that he was doing it as a used machine. So everyone wants brand spanking new, and I was like, okay, like that's gonna actually go over way better. Yeah, it's interesting. Especially because I think he talks about Jeeps in here that go into the riverbed and then they have to pull them out. And it's just not fun. So
You don't want to take another Jeep in to pull them out with.
no, Ron, we're gonna call you up next time.
The Argos are not going to pull the Jeep out, I don't believe.
No, but it can assist with
Pulling people out.
to get the people. One comment I had is on the section about how they would publicly recognize. They basically just had a question mark, so we don't know how to do this suggestion. So my suggestion is that there could be a sticker on the side of the machine that says funded in part by State of Utah OHV Fiscal Incentive Grant Program, or something to that effect.
Where is it? Sorry, I just want
E2,
Oh,
section E2, yep. Unsure how we could do this without appearing to be part of the Division of Recreation.
I get that.
Yeah,
mean,
I understand
we
that.
have to go through certain, like even on our kiosk
Yeah.
panels, like our PR folks have to tell us like what order the logos can go in. I mean,
Right.
it's all, but I'm sure you guys
Right.
can come up with a solution.
I felt like they were concerned that they didn't want to appear to be impersonating
Yeah, right.
the organization.
Right.
And
They just want
my
feedback.
comment is go ahead and put the logo on there, especially if you're stating that it was funded by that.
Maybe they could recognize in some other efforts besides like having something not permanently attached, but I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not seeking recognition for these things, although we want to show that everyone.
Yeah, we want people to know where the
Yeah,
funding's
where
coming
the
from.
funding's going. And so maybe that can be more of a.
Make sure you tell the rescuer
Well, I mean,
where the
maybe
funding
some-
comes in to rescue
As
them
you're
from.
helping them.
Maybe they can do some article on it, a social
Yeah.
media, say, hey,
Yeah.
this was just recently accepted, but I think that would be more of an acceptable.
Well, I think the public assumes if a Forest Service ranger comes and does something, that it's the United States Forest Service is
No, we're
is
the
all
Park
of that.
Service, Ron.
And to know, what's that?
We're the Park Service, Ron. And we're also the state.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when the funding is coming from
Yeah.
registration dollars, it's good for, I think it's good for people to know that, oh, hey, that $3 I paid for.
And
Yeah, or the efforts on the registration stickers, I don't know how we recognize that on, now that funding is going towards search and rescue, or they're actually asking for that
Yeah.
so
donation.
we used to have a,
When you register your stuff.
yeah, we used to have a sticker that, and it was a state park sticker, and ideally we'd like to just change it over to the Division of Recreation, where it just says your OHV registration dollars at work.
Yeah.
That was what
Yeah.
it said. And we could just,
And it sounds like that's something that has to be approved by whatever entity is also using it. But in this case, I got the impression it was
Yeah.
more,
They just don't know how
we
to go
don't,
about it.
we don't want to,
yeah. Especially, I think this is their first time
Yeah.
applying, so they're like, I don't know.
Where would we put that and not look like you?
Brody?
I have a simple solution. Let's just increase their grant by like $100 and let them get a sticker that we tell them what to put on it.
Yeah.
Well, so
or we
ideally.
provide a sticker we've already
Yeah.
got.
Yeah, we need
Right.
to, so there was some discussion that so our logo is the current Division of Recreation one, the blue one, that will stay the same, but last our director spoke to us, it seemed as though he wanted to have like different logos kind of designating different grant programs. So we haven't officially made any stickers, but that's what I tell applicants if they're trying to get a sticker or a logo on something, I say, hold off. What we're going to do is we're going to buy our own stickers and just mail them to all of our applicants. So,
Well, something that I mean, I know this is nothing to do with snowmobile. The Utah Avalanche Center has put our recreation logo on their trailer mark, which was cool. That was the first decal of the new rec logo. I think it was the first decal that was.
wait, do you have a picture?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, again, we just have to, I'm sure every entity has a way that usually the first logos, whichever
I didn't
entity
know that
showing
until I
up, and
saw
then
it at
the,
the trailhead.
then the next ones go from there.
Send it to everyone and be
Send it
like,
to everyone.
look, it's us.
It must have been an
You're too busy riding to worry about that stuff.
Okay. Anyways, do we want to move on to the scoring?
Let's go for it.
Okay. Mm. All right, I think I'm on Eric.
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Brody,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Tyson,
Yes.
and lastly, Fred.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to number 13. This is for GPS trails. It's the town of Stockton, multiple counties. They're requesting $12,501, and their total project cost is $16,840. It's a 26% match. The score within submittable right now is 44.4, and this is an other category.
So this is the first of these GPS mapping that some include the 360
Also,
mapping.
real quick side note. So we sent them an additional form, but also if you see here and it says last edited, we can come in here and I added their letter of support. So if you're looking for something in the future and there's a chance that it could be in there that I've added it. So just a quick side note. All right. I'm just scrolling down to the project description, project overview.
Seems like we covered some of the commentary on this and then I derailed it.
No, you brought us back on track.
Because I know that we see these applications as a pair that have to go together but they are separate applications and I can see, differences in having one and not having the other. So a couple of comments I have is the last meeting, we talked about a couple of different things. One, we talked about kind of the cookie cutter approach that all of these applications were identical. The wording was identical. It's almost like the applicant didn't even see the application. All they did is sign it, is what it felt like a little bit. Another thing that we discussed was that there was no cash match. There was no skin in the game from any of these. And then another thing from my notes anyway, for what I recall, is that we talked about, where's some statistics about how these are being used and who's touching them and who's utilizing them. And so from what I can see, the applicants saw those concerns and made some efforts. I noticed that they're different in their wording. They're talking about things specific to their area, not just the trails, but just kind of in general. And the maps themselves, I don't know if anybody's been on that lately, but they've really improved. The website that hosts those is vastly superior to what they used to be. So you'll have a trail. You click on a trail on the website, and it's got a bunch of information about the trail, how much time it took them to record it, which I thought was interesting because a lot of guides will say that's going to take 3 to 4 hours. Well, they've recorded their average speed and told you exactly how long it took them to do it, which I thought was interesting. Gives you data about is there any width limits, what your elevation changes. They've got the profiles on that. And then the thing I liked the most about it is, they've got the 360 street view, which is what we've seen the most of, but they've also got a GPX trail route that works directly with the Gaia app, which a lot of people use. And I know a lot of, I personally don't like the Gaia app because I've tried lots of other apps for mapping when I'm off-road, but more and more people, more and more outlets are providing data for Gaia maps that I finally, just for my own personal recreation, have had to purchase the app and get the subscription so that I can get everything I need. And I tested it out a little bit, and these are on there. I can pull them on there and I can take them with me out into the field. So I kind of feel like some effort was made to improve the product based on our discussions. And then,
So Ron, are
Yeah.
all the 360 projects we've approved all at that one location? They can all be accessed from that one website?
I don't see them all on here, no. But
Is that? was
they
that the
are,
goal of
my
them, though?
understanding is that the data will be moving over to the
And at
new
least I'll be on that
location.
one location. Okay.
Yeah. And so I have one more comment, and I hope it's not, I hope it's not too unpopular, but, so about 10 years ago, I put in an application for a grant. It was before FIG, of course. It was through the Utah Four-Wheel Drive Association. I was sick and tired of when I'm on Forest Service land, I got to have this map. When I'm on BLM land, I got that map. And then I'm on the national park, and then there's like these little white spots, and I don't know where the road goes in there. And just for my own personal recreation, I took San Juan County and Grand County, and I took all those maps and like made images of them, and just like I literally cut them out and stitched them together in this giant map of 2 counties. And then I geosynchronized it. Is that the term? I geosynchronized it.
Geo-reference.
I just geo-referenced it. I used some really cheap software. There's like these little logos on there for the company that I got the free software from, because I needed something other than what was out there.
Yeah.
And that grant wasn't funded because at the time, I wasn't on the council at the time, of course, but the BLM was talking about, well, we've got a product that's gonna do this. We've got this thing we're working on that's gonna do this. And so it wasn't funded. And we've seen on Avenza maps, BLM has come out with a little bit of stuff, but not enough. And the Forest Service has come out with some stuff, but
Mostly motorized though. It doesn't
but
have
but not
a lot of the normal-
not enough.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I go into San Juan County or into Grand County, I still pull up on my backcountry navigator, this little thing that I made for myself. And that's what I use, because there's really not a comprehensive thing. And I know that there's an effort for the state now to start to get into that. And I hope that happens somewhere. But like right now, when I look on the state's website, actually the first thing I see is a link to the 360 trail maps that the AYL did. That's the first thing I see. And there's some other maps. They have a list of OHV maps. If I click on them, some of the maps are a PDF from a BLM website or a motor vehicle use map from the Forest Service, and there's things missing. My point, and then I'll be quiet. My point is, I don't think we're ever going to have a comprehensive, covers everything, and hopefully the state product that it's working on gets us closer to that than we have been in the past. But right now, I don't see that. Like, when I go on the state's website, I don't see an example of where this is going to go. And in the interim, for me, I'd rather have something. I do like these ones that they're putting out on this Outsiders Utah. I like that I can download it to my Gaia maps and I can see where I'm at. I like that I can look at the pictures and see, where a crossing is, or look at the ground and see where a campsite might be if I'm going to be just dispersed camping and going along. It's not comprehensive. It doesn't cover everything. It doesn't, we probably need to make sure that it's legal routes as they cross different landowners, but I like the product. It's way, way better than it was the last time we talked. And I wish there was a comprehensive something out there. I hope the state is the one to do that. But for me, I'm still using the map I made myself, because nobody makes a map that satisfies me.
Nobody makes a map.
Nobody makes a map that satisfies me.
Yeah.
I got to use the one I made myself. That's literally
Maybe you could sell it.
cut and paste.
I appreciate that input,
Yeah.
Ron, and I agree. And I like that it's all housed in one location. That was part of what was super
Right.
concerning to me was
Right.
it just felt like all these different entities, things were going in different directions. But I do like that that's all housed in one place and it's linked on the state's website.
Fred?
Yeah, when we put the Paiute Trail book together, we went with the Forest Service, the BLM, and the county and everything else. So our book is the latest and the greatest for is the mapping. And I'm in the process right now of putting it on Avenza. And we're looking at having a one-page sheet that shows the whole trail system. And we're just trying to finalize that right now.
Great.
And so that covers what, almost 6 counties.
Scott, you got comments?
Oh, we got, whoa, Scott has comments.
No, I'm open
I
to
have
it.
been involved in GIS for 30 years, okay? So I have some background in mapping, and they have improved it. I've had this discussion for the last 2 years about the 360 stuff that I've looked at this website and I've looked at the 360 stuff. A lot of their time is doing 360 stuff. The trails are costing us over $4,000 per trail. Like I says, I can get on Google Earth and digitize something fairly quickly and have it in a GPX or a Google file fairly quickly if you want to. Some of the data I looked at on their website was pretty clean. Some of their data was not very clean. They didn't clean it up yet. The GPX files were not cleaned up. And maybe that was just an oversight. They are working on it. They are improving. I have seen some 360 stuff that was astounding here, but they had video attached to it where you could run video and 360. I'm with Ron. It is a major project trying to put this all in one application, and I'm not sure that's going to happen real soon. But there are things that are out there that I think we could look at that perhaps. I don't think this fits yet. I'm just telling you, they're getting better. How that fits in, we've actually spent a fair amount of money to get to where we're at right here. There's been, if we sat down and figured out how much money that's went into the 360 mapping stuff, I would probably, what do we want? Do we want trail data information? When I go ride my bike now, you know what people have? They have their phone. They have an app on their phone. And they have 2 or 3 different types of seamless mapping that's available through the state. The problem is you need coverage. You need some type of cell phone coverage. You can download certain areas, the whole data for a particular area. I believe this is one of those items we as a council need to sit down and discuss and say, hey, what kind of a product? Maybe we have 2 or 3 different people come and present information to us and say, hey, this is a cutting edge. The stuff I seen come out of the Vernal area on this newer stuff they had was astounding. I was impressed with it. That, I think, got all stopped, didn't it?
Is that with Utah.com?
I was.
No, it hasn't stopped.
I can speak to that. I actually just met with them. I went for a ride with them on another trail that they're mapping out today. And they are getting set to release an update to the existing maps that they've done, and as well as all the trails they're mapping this week. They're mapping several trails this week, and they're going to be releasing those all at once. So yeah, it's coming. What you see on there right now is a start, and the rest of it's on the way.
Jason, how many trails are they doing on this round then?
I believe they're doing a different one every day this week until Thursday. So, and I don't know what their plans are to come back, but I think the original application was for 10 different trails.
Okay, that's what I would call 10 trails.
And we, as our OHV program, as well as like our director and then Tara, who you met earlier, we actually had a meeting and we met with Utah.com just to kind of get a more of an understanding. Obviously, if we do it as a state entity, we're likely going to have to go through the request for proposal process. And that's when they would be presenting to us. And we would be setting the criteria that we want that entity to meet for us and meet our demands ultimately. But we just kind of had a meeting with them to just kind of mostly spitballing. I feel like it was just like trying to figure out what we're looking for, because for us as being a hub for outdoor recreation, we also want to focus on non-motorized stuff as well. We can't just, and again, that's just our division's outlook on it. Obviously, like our intent is obviously for motorized, but we plan to diversify it where it's not just solely motorized. But yeah, so
Yeah, can I say something?
go ahead. Yeah.
I say there's a lot of routes we can take with this. I think what we really need to look at is how we provide products that all types of our OHV, I mean, because even our OHV users, they access the mapping, the area, they access it differently, and being able to meet the need for all that. Because some people prefer paper maps, which is still available. I mean, you still sell them in the Forest Service areas. And some people are just they're just straight paper maps. And then some people are specific to a specific app. Like some people love Onyx Off-Road or love Gaia, and they access it through KML and GPX files, which that's something we're looking at. And then some people just want, something all-inclusive with, some big app for all trails and provided by the state. So we just got to figure out what that need is, and that's where we're looking for that request, for proposal later on down the road of being able to meet the need and be that hub of information for everybody on these mapping systems that's available, not just on a one private entity, but all entities can access this and that all users can use.
Well, this website is as much promotional as it is a hosting for, data. Because you click on the link for the video and they'll show a video from a TV clip or a whole section of a TV clip. And so this is as much promotional as it is as grabbing data. And so do we want that in? Well, there probably needs to be that end also, and how do we blend it in? Because they do give some good information. They show stuff, they show pictures, you get an idea. But again, if I want to go on any single one of those trails they have listed on, all I do is get on YouTube and click on it, and they'll have 10 trail rides that somebody's already went on, and I can watch a video of them going through the trails. And if there's a difficult part, they will show it. How much did it cost? Didn't cost anything. Well, it cost them, that whoever put it on YouTube. But this is, I believe, is tied into the other town promotionals. The 3 trails have been connected into them. And this is as much promotional as it is data-oriented type information. We have to decide what we want. And that's why I believe as a council, again, I can't say this so many times, that I think we are the ones that have to decide what we want. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is we're going to have to sit down and talk about what we want. What do we want?
Yeah. No, I think that's what we.
So when are we going to meet as a council and discuss what we want? Can we have a training meeting where we sit down and talk about this?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So for us, we would have to wait until at least July 1st, because we need to wait till our division, our entities merge together, because then we'll actually have more hands in the pot and be able to actually work through and come together as that. But yeah, I don't see an issue with it whatsoever.
Could we make an assignment that everybody go out and look to figure out what they like, what the ideas are, and have some type of meeting in July, and where we sit down, and I'm not sure how we put it together, but we discuss this product and maybe bring some people in and show us some stuff that's available.
Yeah. Well, for us, even though our division has not merged, we've begun the discussion. So again, I know it's not great, but it's a work in progress.
Could we put that as an agenda item for our next meeting? Because really, we can't do anything about it unless it's an agenda
That's true.
item.
Yeah.
And then by then, HB 180 will be fully in place and the merger will be fully in place.
Yeah.
And that discussion can happen, at least an initial discussion can be official. Because we thought like we all keep kind of bringing it up, we need to do something like that, but it's like, well, it's not on the agenda.
Yeah.
But can we put that on the agenda?
Yeah, I have no issue with that. I think honestly, what
So
if we
that it's
turned it
an
into
item?
a site visit?
Yeah.
Down south, we go and check out the trails, the first application we reviewed today. And then we have dinner at a local restaurant, giving back to the community. And we hash that out. Thoughts?
How long is the meeting going to be? How long do you think this is going to take?
Well, we could start with dinner and go somewhere else.
So
Because it's probably going to be a couple hour discussion.
I would think at least a couple hour meeting. And how do we incorporate other people into the, perhaps we call them experts?
Mhm.
Perhaps the people that have that website could come and talk to us.
I think you would need
We would have
people to make proposals to come
Mhm.
submit things, but I think the discussion we're talking about has to happen before
Yeah.
we invite people to come solicit to us, because we want to be able to explain, these are the things we want it to look
We
like.
have to have a scope of work.
Okay.
So,
I'll go along
and I
with that.
still think that it's a good idea. Also, it could be somewhere where you meet the rest of our team, our
Yeah.
non-motorized people.
Well, and I think that's what this would be for, is discussing, the scope of work is what we want.
Yeah.
In there. So discussing what we want would be discussing the scope of work. And then we can also see what's already out there, like what you say, grabbing some experts in that
Would there
area.
be a way at all to canvas OHV users and get feedback on what they would like to see in maps and
I mean, we could as
map
a,
opportunities? I mean, I know it's hard to reach, but I imagine, I think you guys have a pretty good list of clubs, groups. I mean, I'd just be curious what product
We could
would-
probably
would they want to see?
provide some Google form
Yeah.
for they able, we could
To at
put a
least
list,
known
like a survey.
contacts. Yeah.
say, what map system do you
Yeah.
use?
Yeah. And what is it? What's
is a
missing for
simple
you?
one, basically what they use while they're on the trail
Mm-hmm.
system. And then that would give us a good direction of the majority of users for that direction to head down.
At least a little broader input, because I really am curious, because we do hear people all the time, they're like, I just want a paper map, and then you hear people
Right.
like Ron that are creating their own digital map, and or people that are downloading all sorts of shape files off of different agencies.
Yeah, 'cause
Like
most-
there's whole broad spectrum.
Because most of our information is anecdotal from, I've tasked, our rangers to say, hey, tell me what the users want in the field.
Yeah.
That's kind of our biggest net that we're able to cast
Yeah.
statewide because they're with the users every single day. Whether it's enforcement or education, doesn't matter. We still ask that of them.
Yeah.
And that's what I've asked out in the field. Like, hey, how do you access this? What do you like to see? What education program do you prefer? Do you prefer the hands-on or the online? We could get so much information on that survey we're never the thing we got to look at is we're never going to make every single user happy, but if we can get the bulk of the users happy, then, that's something I can accept.
Chase, if you're talking about bringing the non-motorized into this, is it perhaps we need to make a subcommittee from the motorized and from the non-motorized and have them meet and discuss? I'm not sure you could have 24 people, that it would be a productive discussion if you put maybe a group of 3 or 4 people together from each side and bring them together. I wonder if it could be more productive of coming up with a product and then them come back with some suggestions. It's just a thought.
Do you know if, I haven't been involved with that, at least the non-motorist, is theirs.
So with us, with the bill that merges our two divisions, it also does away with the RTP advisory councils. So after this year, like OHV and Utah Recreational Trails will no longer have to deal with RTP. We're going to have I think it's the Outdoor Infrastructure Grant, something. They've created this new council or committee, and there will be OHV representatives on it. And so I know that I would probably at some point I will be reaching out to people to see if they'd be willing to be on that committee, especially the people that are passionate about it and have a lot of insight on things. But we would probably pull a couple people from those because it will have non-motorized people as well as motorized. And then just also people from different areas of the state. So again, it would be after July 1, once that is established. Like I don't even know the name of it right now, but so we will have that entity pretty much at our fingertips. So more to come.
So where are we at in this process here?
So do we do more of these, or do we hold off on more of these until we decide really the direction the division wants to go with mapping? I don't know.
I mean, you've heard our kind of
Yeah.
what I expressed before, and maybe that's your guidance on
Yeah.
what we plan on to do with mapping and trying to be or going to be that hub of
Yeah.
information.
Okay.
I mean, that's our direction there, and if that helps you make that decision, that would be our recommendation.
Okay.
So do we need to make a proposal then on this?
Probably need a motion.
A motion? I make a motion that we hold off on funding these with the thought that we didn't fund them last time. We need to come up with some answers. And I think the only way we can do this is we got to meet somehow and hash this out. And we can't do it in a grant meeting, okay? A grant meeting doesn't have enough time. So how I put that all in a deal is that I believe that we hold off on this until.
Is there a second?
I'll second it. Brad.
Okay. Cheryl?
Aye.
That's okay. Also, I'll go through the applications that would be involved in this. So let me quickly show my screen with everyone.
We are voting to accept the motion.
Yes, we are voting to accept the motion that pertains to application number 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, and 20. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So Cheryl?
Aye.
And then Ron?
No.
Okay. Let's go. Eric?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Tyson?
Yes.
What happens if it doesn't pass unanimously? Do we just move on because the majority voted?
Well, we would go back to, if the motion didn't pass, we'd go back to rating the application.
But it did pass, just not unanimously.
That doesn't have to be unanimous.
Okay.
I thought we pulled them all, any trail one we pulled out and we did this all together. Is that not correct?
That was the motion, yes.
Yeah.
But if the motion failed, then we would just go back as though that had never happened.
Yes.
And we would look at each application and say yes or no on each one.
Yeah.
So I believe the motion was just to remove it from consideration tonight, more or less.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm just going to real quickly just delete these. So once we are done, they will autofill all the numbers.
But with a way forward to have some answers for our next
Right.
meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will.
So did we get everybody's vote?
When are we meeting to discuss this?
Rachel, did we get everybody's vote?
Yes.
Okay, 'cause
Yeah.
we just,
I didn't vote, Rachel.
I don't think everybody voted.
Wait, I thought you did Brody. I'm sorry. Brody.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Brody's all left out.
Yeah, Brody's like, how dare you? Sorry, Brody. My bad. All right. So moving on to the next one, which is number 15. This is for the Duchesne County ATV Trails equipment. It is with Duchesne County, obviously in Duchesne County. They're requesting $50,000. Total project cost is $67,500. It's a 26% match. Their submittable score is 90.6, and this is for trail work. And this one is, I believe, an advisory council member reached out to them and requested additional bids for their machine, which they provided to me today. So I can pull those up. Yes, here it is. So you've provided additional bids. So there's 3 of them. So one of them is a total cost of almost like $18,500 pretty much. Next bid is $18,000, a little less than 500. And the last bid or quote is $17,909. And it looks like okay. Yeah, so those are the bids that are associated with this project that they were requested. I believe it was Tyson. Is that you, Tyson?
Yes, it was me.
Is there any discussion on this? I will just quickly pull up the overview.
Which one are we? Number 4? My numbers are different to yours. so
Yeah.
What the name of it?
It's
That's
the
Duchesne.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sorry guys, it's because I try to do it by whoever's application comes in first, but it shows, unless you organize it by date, it shows it the most recent application. So the last ones to come in we're showing
I'm
first.
sorry, I wasn't listening. I knew what you was talking about, and I just got lost where I was at.
Okay. Any discussion on this? All right. I'm just going to move on to scoring for this. That is not it. What is it? Here it is. I believe we're on Ron.
Yes.
Cheryl is in the restroom. So Brody,
Yes.
didn't forget you this time. Jason,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Tyson,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
Right, and I'll come back to Cheryl, but as it stands right now, it passes. So on to number 19. This is the High Desert Trailhead, Beaver County, Minersville Lake Park. It's from Beaver County. Cheryl, what's your score for the Duchesne County one? Yes. All right. So they're requesting $163,000. Total project cost is $217,692. 25% match. Submittable score is 91.4, and this is a trail work project. Is there any discussion on this?
I have a question.
Okay.
How does the $1 million they pulled out of the FIG fund last cycle fit into this? Because isn't this part of the High Desert Trail?
It is part of the High Desert Trail. It's my understanding that this is a separate ask. I would have to go and look at the, what is it? Request for funding, RFA, request for allocation, which was through the legislative session. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, and does it show what they plan on doing with that money, where it's going to get spread out at?
It is my understanding that, so it doesn't have to do with paving parking areas. It does have to do with it's physical, like kiosk signage. And I feel like restrooms was on it. Let me actually quickly, I'm gonna stop sharing real quickly.
Yeah, they're putting a restroom on the south end of the dam and connecting the trail system to the High Desert plus to the Paiute.
Okay, I just wanted to pull up because Michelle Evans actually shared with me. Oh no. Michelle left. Michelle Evans left, and it makes me mad. She's not anymore. It's really sad.
Well, that's my only question. If this was, if this is a separate entity just to connect to that as opposed to being part of it.
So let me quickly share this with you. This is what she sent me when they were doing the RFA, request for allocation. Where is it? So, and it's broken out. So it looks like they have requested one restroom out of Beaver County, but this is what each entity has requested. And that's kind of how they got that cost breakout of $1 million. Obviously they rounded up because everything's gone up. But yeah, so Beaver County requested these items.
Not the parking.
It's to connect, because you go up through into Milford, but it's also the High Desert Trail comes up and then it'll interconnect.
It's a trail.
But it's also putting a separate restroom and park or restroom and a staging area on the south end of the reservoir.
Yeah, and if we want to pull up their budget, if we're curious on some things, where is it? It says map. So it looks like a lot of it, yeah, there is one restroom they're requesting, but a lot of it just has to do with the parking areas. And there's septic.
Yeah, staging area most.
Yeah. And that's their cash detail. Their in-kind is just, yeah, there's just a lot of clearing trail and painting and clearing, overspraying of something. I can't see what that is. But yeah. It looked as though someone had a question. It is Jason. Go ahead, Jason.
So is the county planning on paving this themselves, or are they hiring somebody to do it? Does anybody know?
Looking at their, it says awarded bidder for, it also is under professional services. So I assume that they're probably going to be outsourcing. I wonder if they had any bids.
That would be handy to have. In my limited experience, that's a really low cost for paving. And the other part of it is maybe they're only paving 2 inches or 1 inch. I don't know, but that seems pretty low to me.
Okay.
Yeah, what did they say?
Does it need to be paved?
A parking area will be paved with asphalt approximately 16,000 to 15,000 square feet in size. What'd you say? I didn't hear you, Scott.
I'm just wondering if it needs to be paved or if a good gravel one.
I don't know. I mean, it's up to,
I'm with Jason. That's not very much money to put blacktop on something.
yeah.
I don't think it's a very long distance they're putting it in.
Well, if you look at their pictures, it seems as though it looks like there was.
It kind of does look like blacktop there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks like
Maybe.
it might just be putting it on top of
It's
it.
just been milled.
Yeah. Oh, that doesn't look like. Yeah, it doesn't look like.
I don't know, sometimes counties can get way better deals on asphalt though than.
That's
true.
true.
Like,
True,
the
better
cost
than-
of asphalt for us is way different than if we work with UDOT on our projects. So I feel like counties have access to different.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why I ask, because if they're sourcing their own materials, then it's probably fine. But if they're hiring somebody to do that and they're putting it out to bid, that might be way too low.
For sure.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Oh, it looks like they also requested an RRI grant and an outdoor. I wonder if this is also. I don't know if they're showing these because I guess we're going to become part of outdoor recreation.
Oh, yeah.
And I wonder if that's why they also provided
I don't know.
these. But
I think
By this project funded within the past few years.
yeah. Which usually we just require it for, like if it's like an RTP or, which I guess going forward we'll have to be asking about the Office of Outdoor Recs grants as well. Yeah. Well, is there any other discussion on this or do we wanna?
my only question as I look at that map, I don't know, I'm not familiar with this reservoir, but I just am really curious who the camping population is and whether or not that OHV trailhead right next to a campground of potentially non-OHV users is going to set
And
that
next
up
to a
for,
highway.
yeah, is going to set it up for success. But I don't know, maybe a lot of the people at that reservoir are OHV users. Does anybody know kind of that dynamic?
It's a heavy OHV use area, very heavy.
Campground?
Well, I mean, people, the campground itself, but just that little area, the whole area around that.
Yeah.
For example, the Beaver County Jamboree that's coming up, they'll have that whole place just filled with people for the Jamboree, the ATV Jamboree. It is a staging area for several rides, and so wonderful area for OHVs.
Yeah, I'm just making sure we're not setting that situation up to be like a high conflict situation. It looks like you've got a boat launch, a campground, and now we're adding an OHV parking on top of all of that, which hopefully they know their user group. I feel like anytime you're adding all of those users into one little geographic area, the potential for conflict is high.
I think this will actually to help alleviate any potential problems.
Okay.
If anything. So,
Okay.
because when the OHV community goes to that particular park area, they tend to go into the campground, and this will help to alleviate that. There'll be ATVs going in and out of the campgrounds and getting in the way of people trying to offload their boats and whatnot. This will help hopefully alleviate a lot of that.
That's good. Thank you.
And be good neighbors while doing it.
Yeah.
Also, if you look at the campground during the summer, the campground's probably full and there's no place to park for ATVs or nothing. Those that want to leave from the trailhead there.
Unless like over here.
Okay. Do you know if the trail leaves out of both sides? Like right now, this map that Rachel's looking at, the trail looks like it only goes from one direction, but do you know if
That trail, that location right there will get you anywhere. I mean, It's even a destination spot when we ride out of Iron County. So
But what
we
I'm
come right down into that. You can get there from Beaver, you can get there from Milford, you can get, or Minersville anyway, and you can get there from the north. It's there's a lot of places you can go to and come from.
So piggybacking on Cheryl's question, it looks like from the map, it looks like that yellow line, that is a spur to come over and access the parking. Is that correct? But to go anywhere, you got to go back down the spur to the main trail. Is that correct?
Well, there's several other roads. You've got the main highway or the state road, right? Well, you can't see my mouse, sorry. Bottom, clear to the bottom right of that picture, a little farther on is the paved road. And so you can get to many different trails from there. So that's probably just their identified spur, but if you look at all those other little dirt roads,
that's
those
an
are
existing spur. The yellow is an existing spur, and this is just maybe a suggested route to get to the parking.
That could be
something. Okay.
The trail goes left of the or I guess west of the reservoir.
The trail's an existing trail, but like Brody says, it connects all the other trails coming out of Minersville and Milford, and you can actually come out of Cold Fort and go all the way down that way too if you want, and take you into Minersville Reservoir.
And that picture right there where it's set, the little square that says High Desert Trail Trailhead, that's, you can come, there's a trail probably right underneath that. That's hard to see. That actually will go to Iron County and goes into Iron County. And so some of them are pretty gnarly little trails, but they all get there.
Did you want to look at a different picture?
You could look at the Google Earth image. I mean, I have it up on Gaia right now.
No, that's all good, helpful
Okay.
info.
So I think it's pushing most of traffic west, not through the main trail system. There's some trails that shoot off, but that's not the main trail system going through, which I hope that probably answers that question.
Yeah, it was hard to tell because you can also see those like other paths going out of the other side of the campground. And so I'm like, are people going to be just like buzzing through the campground? I hope they would make like a trail that skirts outside of the campground and
yeah, and that's what I was looking at. It looks like they can go over there, but the main trail system goes west.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Do we feel comfortable scoring?
Let's do it.
Great. All right. So Cheryl, I'm back at you.
Yes.
Okay. Brody.
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Tyson.
Yes.
Fred.
Yes.
Eric.
Yes.
Ron.
Yes.
All right. Eric, if you're there, we will come back to you.
Oh, sorry. Did you hear me?
No.
Saying yes.
Okay. Okay.
Sleeping?
Yeah,
Sorry,
right.
I even turned on my camera and everything so you could read my lips if you needed to.
Cool. All right. So this is another Duchesne County. It's Duchesne County Harmston Canyon Trail Connector Environmental Assessment. This is number 22. They're requesting $16,500. Total project cost is $22,000. 25% match, scored a 91.9 and submittable. And this again is a trail work project.
And paying for actual environmental analysis is something FIG will pay for.
Yes.
Because that's not usually something RTP will pay for.
No.
Okay, that's one clarification I wanted.
They do say in RTP that it can pay a portion of it.
Yeah,
but I
but
think
it's
we just avoid that.
Yeah, it's a much small. Okay. That was one thing I looked all over and I was like, is that something we can
We've
do?
paid for feasibility studies and stuff
Okay.
like that. So, and I
Okay.
think
I'm thinking Cheryl must have questions. I just looking here, you must have questions.
That was my only
The only
question,
question?
was whether or not FIG could pay for it, like environmental analysis to be completed. So, yeah. If it can, then that's my only one.
You want my 2 cents?
Yeah.
They're building a new trail.
Yep.
wow.
They're making,
Whoa.
they're connecting trails.
Yes, connecting.
Did they
loops,
also include
which is awesome.
like their almost like a 5-year plan of what they're good. That Mike's great to work with.
I'm excited about this. Anytime we build new trail or opening up an old road.
Yeah.
And connecting stuff,
Yeah,
I get excited.
making loops, that's all good.
Yeah, I've told him, I was just like, maybe you should, oh, this is not even the correct application. Whoops. I'm like, who scored this 40?
Who scored this 40? Judging.
I know, right? Sorry. I did tell them.
Yours.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, that's what I just heard. Who did this?
No, I did tell them, I was like, I think because they have a lot of applications open, I was like, just make sure that you are getting the work. Yeah, the grants that you already have done, like focus on those before you start a new one. So they're receptive of that. Any discussion? We're good to stay?
I think so.
Wow, guys. Also, I don't want to jinx it, but it's 8:20 and we're almost done. Okay. All right.
Just jinxed.
I know.
You know that the last one.
You know there's one left.
4 hours.
Sorry. We're moving on. Brody, I'm starting with you.
Yes.
Midnight.
No. Jason,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Tyson,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
and Cheryl.
Yes.
All right, so this application is not associated with the others. It is the Cache Valley OHV Activity Trails website. It is from Cache Valley Visitors Bureau. County is obviously Cache. They're requesting $8,050. I don't know. Total project cost is $11,500, so 30% match. Score on submittable is 52.5, and it's an education/tourism application. I can pull this up.
But they are hosting trails. That's the. I was disappointed in the website I went to.
The one
It
that
wasn't nearly as good as the one we talked about previously. There wasn't data downloadable. It just showed a line on a map. It was, and it wouldn't be hard for them to fix that to where they had it, downloadable GPS file. But it wasn't nearly as good as what I have seen.
So this is a request for them to update their website and put funding into
What
it.
they gave an example, so I went to pick up their
Oh.
example and looked at what this company had produced.
Oh, proposal. Let's see this.
And their link didn't work to where I wanted to go, but they did give me a link. There was a mess up on the link there.
And we could contact San Juan County and
I tried to get to
Garfield.
Utah, that one right there,
Yeah.
and so. I think there could be some improvements.
It's a pretty picture.
They had good pictures. They had really good pictures.
That's cute.
That's cute. I just saw first down.
I know, me too.
It's gotta be a good thing.
Yeah. All right, let's see.
Was that Forrest Gump on there? I didn't see that one.
That's probably not. Things to see, things to do. Recreation. Okay.
The other websites showed mainly non-motorized type stuff, but the one for Garfield County was more specific to motorized, and that's the one I linked to. And I think they could do some work real easy and fix the questions I had in there.
Oh, these are
That's
all
just our tours.
tours.
Which one did you go to?
The top one. If you go in and do a search on utah-trails.com, it will pull it up. For some reason, I don't know why that didn't pull it up. Uh-oh. You copied and pasted, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Oh, really?
Dash trails.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. There it is. Yeah. Sorry.
It's populating.
When you clicked on the did ATV trails, it would bring up people hiking on trails. And so I just did.
Yeah, I kind of got the impression there was all use.
It was intermingled. And so it could be that they just need to fix some of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if they just need
See,
more photos.
my
Like there's a lot of
comment I wrote in there is that they haven't really given us an example of what the final websites, what the website will be like and how it'll work is kind of unclear.
Weird.
And I also felt like it non-OHV
Is
trails would be included.
I don't want
Is
to
that what it
insult Garfield County, but Caden Figgins, what is this?
No, I feel like this is just another example though of what we were talking about, right? Is like, how would the public even ever find this
I know. And this is a good
website
example.
or these? My other concern with this proposal is like, I have no idea what level of coordination they've done with our forest, but there's no like letter of support from the Logan Ranger District. And I would just hope that that was more of a collaborative effort if they're basically going to be taking like our maps that are already digitized and putting it on their website, that there would be some kind of coordination there. And maybe there is,
They
but
said
it
there wasn't
doesn't.
any maps, but they are maps. And I said that there are maps
Yeah.
out there.
There are maps, and so they could obtain, I mean, the information's on our website. They could already obtain those digital like map.
You know what? Finding your website and getting on there and getting the information
Right.
is a problem.
It's probably as hard
so-
as this.
And I think that's why we come back to
Yeah.
the base
whole
of everything.
thing.
The problems of locating these maps is what we need to solve.
It is.
And it's not gonna be,
No, on another entity's website.
and maybe, I mean, we have that informational stuff, hopefully down the road in our state network, and then still provide the resources to these local entities where they can have a link. It's easy for them to have a
Absolutely.
link to go to us, and then we
Yes.
provide that, just like how we would do it with land managing agencies.
Absolutely.
So that's where I see, going back to what we.
Yeah, I agree.
So did somebody online have a comment? I hear.
I'm also gonna stop sharing because I'm just.
Can I make a motion similar to the other projects so that we divert this one to state parks?
I have a comment.
Excuse me, Division of Recreation.
Let's leave it.
They did put a bunch of money in there. They put a bunch of cash in there. So
They had some
that
cash.
does raise it. And so when people want to put cash in there, which
Scores
I'm
higher.
willing to actually, and it's really not a lot of money.
It's more
But-
so finding the right.
So I think what we can kind of discuss is the importance of this, and we appreciate the passion that
Absolutely.
all these, grants, are pushing forward. And so we appreciate that, but we want to do as best as we can for the user groups.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what we need to know here with all of these grant submissions
Yeah.
is we want to make it a good, great product for them to benefit later.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed about this one is they do actually explicitly mention that some of the trails will be non-motorized. Says some of the trails that are mapped will be for non-motorized use. And then under the question, what percentage do you anticipate will be from OHV recreation? I thought this was a little telling of how much they've thought about it and their promotion planning. It says, since it will be the first time this website will be unveiled, I don't have a way to anticipate total use or what percent will be from OHV recreation. And I get that you don't know who's gonna stumble across your website, but who are you pushing it to? What resources are you using to push it out? And so that makes me question, are they not advertising that? You're just.
I know that they found out about this application very very late.
Yeah.
And like for me, I actually had to open up the application period later because they had it all set up and like one thing would not submit. And I was like, well, they sent me their application, like they downloaded it. And I was like, I'll just let it be because they'd obviously put in the work. But I honestly, even if it comes back and we're like, maybe find another resource to use and just more information.
I think it fits into that broader discussion about mapping.
Okay.
Yeah. All the other ones.
Okay. Do we want to score?
Yep.
Okay, let me share my screen.
So there was who was it? Was it somebody was
Did anyone raise their hand?
mentioning they were gonna make a motion?
Oh.
Jason.
Was that you, Jason?
Yeah, I was gonna make a motion to move this project over to the Division of Recreation to deal with as their fundings.
Jason, you got it.
Do I have a second?
I second it, Scott.
Scott. All right. People in the room. Cheryl.
Aye.
Ron.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to people online. Brody.
Yes.
I didn't forget you. Eric. Eric.
Yes. I,
I told you we don't want to see you.
That was almost a song, Eric. It was really nice.
well, I was trying. I was about 5 windows in. Sorry. Three.
Fred.
Yes.
And Jason, you made the motion. So Tyson. Okay. Okay. Wait.
You know, say
That's
Beaver
not-
County.
Yeah, I was like.
Yeah, weird.
We gotta-
See it on Tyler TV or something.
Yeah, Eugene.
How dare you?
One says the quiet. Yeah, presume.
Yeah. That's so bad.
We had something else to talk about. 29 minutes.
So, but
Oh, there we go.
we do have an additional amount left over. Do we want to give more money to anyone?
Well, doesn't it roll back into the account?
Well, $350,000 is the only amount that we can roll annually. The rest has to be put back into the restricted account.
I'd say give it to Beaver because I don't think their
That's what I was,
amount for asphalt is enough.
I can't say anything.
go ahead.
We could see if
Yeah, you're not oh, God.
we could reach out to somebody from Wasatch Cache National Forest and see if they could use any additional as well.
We can't give them more money, can we? Oh,
Can.
wait, no, that's.
Oh,
We have,
What did they, was theirs at the limit though?
so I,
350?
we have.
I'll second the motion that he just made to give it back to Beaver.
Well,
But
$350,000.
not that much.
A motion hasn't been made yet. We're still discussing it,
Oh,
See all of them.
so we do have
but that sounds like a potential motion.
ability, sorry. We do have the ability to exceed the $350,000 if for some reason we want to. It's more so because honestly, look at this quarter where we had a threshold of $350,000.
Locking up on me.
Ultimately, we had 2 applicants with that threshold. To date, we haven't had that much. So that's why we included the threshold, is because then it's like people have something to base their application off of. And if anything, it makes people request more. That was our viewpoint on it. But especially now we have additional funding, we can give it to whoever.
And that was a new threshold too.
It was, and it was not announced. So sorry.
But I can't really.
What is there a disadvantage to letting it roll into the restricted account for next
Yeah.
year?
Yeah, there is, because then we have to put more, because like right now, we're gonna have to put funding back into our restricted account. So our restricted account is just growing.
But that's happened every grant cycle, hasn't it?
Yeah, but RTP and also there was like $185,000 that was allocated annually from the restricted account for Chris Haller to use towards cooperative agreements. RTP, as well as that 186,500, whatever amount, would roll. So it would just accumulate. Didn't have to go back into our restricted account. Like it was in our account, we could use it. This grant, at least from the language that I read, and I don't know if Shane's still online, but I think that he could also clarify on that. But it's any amount over $350,000 in our account that isn't allocated to grants has to go back into our restricted account.
Can you give that money to Chase?
What about me? Just kidding. Sorry. For the program?
Not me. Want that?
He wants that on record, not to me personally.
I don't know. Like if I pull up the bill.
So what's the money in the restricted account
No one has an official answer.
for? Like not necessarily how much, but
Where does it go to?
what are the restrictions on it, and are we saving it for
The issue that
a
we're running
specific
into is
project down the road, or?
people are already trying to take that funding from us.
Well, they did already, $1 million.
No, that's okay. People outside of the OHV
I know,
program.
I'm okay with that,
Oh, yeah.
but I would like us to maybe be a part of that.
Is that the money that can be used for an RFP or to pay a contractor to do statewide mapping?
We would have to look into it more, but where is it? Oh, yeah. Any unused balance of money deposited under subsection 3A exceeding $350,000 at the end of each fiscal year shall be deposited in the off-highway vehicle account under subsection 1. I need an explanation on what that means.
Well, isn't that our money still in?
Do you have some
Yeah.
insight on what that means, Chase?
I don't have all that information. I need to
Yeah. Hey,
figure
Shane,
that out. I don't even know if
I'm going to share my screen. Could you explain this to us?
Sure.
Sorry, what does this mean regarding FIG? Does that mean that we have to put funding back into our restricted account?
Let me read it.
Okay, sorry.
He's like, give me a minute.
Yeah, he's like,
And then I think we need to know what that restricted account means for us, if you do know that.
What section of the code is this, Rachel?
412219. So again,
Oh.
like, yeah.
Let me pull it up on my computer.
Okay.
Well, I'd make a suggestion for the Beaver application. I would, before the funding meeting, suggest that they get bids on that asphalt and even potentially engineering to go with it, to make sure that we're getting an accurate count on what it's really going to cost, and then fund it accordingly.
Okay, so just to kind of explain the difference here, it all falls under 412219. But if you go up to the top of that statute, you'll notice that the first source of funding for the off-highway vehicle account comes from monies that are collected by the motor vehicle division from the registration of off-highway vehicles. And that money is deposited, the motor vehicle takes off the top of that the amount it takes them to administer the program, and the remainder is deposited into the off-highway vehicle account to be used not only for FIG funding, but for other programs that can be administered directly by the division. So those were some of the things Chase was discussing earlier. And then if you come down here, any unused balance of the money deposited under Section 3A, so that's $1.50 of each annual registration fee collected. That amount over $350,000 at the end of the fiscal year shall be deposited into the off-highway vehicle account. So that's sort of a separate source of funding, some of which goes into the off-highway vehicle fund or off-highway vehicle account, and some of which isn't necessarily deposited in there until it exceeds $350,000.
Okay.
So
Hold on, sorry, real quick.
go ahead.
Just more for me, because, okay, so the funding that comes from the OHV registration dollars, we can just roll that funding and it's not gonna go back into our restricted account. Like, we don't have to, what is the word? We don't have to like deposit it, like it's just still our money. Like no one can take it away from us. It's already been allocated to us.
Well, I won't speak for the legislature because I certainly can't do that. But what I can tell you is that of the $1.50 that's collected from the annual registration fee, any amount that exceeds $350,000 is put back into that off-highway vehicle fund in the restricted account. Now, what happens to it after that, I don't know for sure as I look at the statute today, but I can tell you it does roll into that off-highway vehicle account. And that's the same account where the money uses, or that the division uses to administer the FIG.
Okay.
We need a finance person. We don't have a finance person, so.
So it sounds to me like if we let some of this go unused and let it roll back, it's not necessarily at any risk.
No.
It's safe for the time being unless the legislature does something we don't like. Okay.
So should we put some more money in the Beaver account then?
Yes. There was also another grant that wanted more money,
That
but
that other grant though had already hit the 350 limit.
Yeah.
but,
That's what we
Is
talked about.
that
Exceed it.
oh yeah, you can.
So if you wanted to do more, you could. But maybe take it
so
one
the
piece at a
question
time.
the question becomes whether we, to me, the question is, since we don't have to, since it's not gonna, we're not going to
Lose it.
put it at risk by allowing it to roll.
Yeah.
We don't need to force
Like it's
using
not-
that money, but if there's one of the grants that it would
I think
be
there's stuff that's-
useful for.
I think if there's stuff that's needed, maybe
I don't
go
know either.
piece by piece of what's needed, and then we'll go from there. Like, I think going, with looking at that Beaver one first, that trailhead, maybe we look at that, decide that, and then go to the next one, decide that.
Because I will say
And-
for the other application that initially their request was $6,000 or $9,000 over the 350. And at first I was like, yeah, that's fine. And then I was like, I didn't ask anyone about this. I just made it fine because I said it was fine. And then I went back and was like, hello applicant, can you actually just change this? Because I don't want to get in trouble. So yeah, they did have to lower their request because of me.
But as a council, we have the authority to recommend going over that.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe look at the needs of each of the grants and decide from there if there is a need, because I think the consensus was you all thought Beaver was lower
Yeah, if,
Yeah.
than what.
my
it actually
thought
is.
is if we do that, if we consider that, let's consider it based on what the need is.
Mhm.
Not
Not just
on-
because you have.
not on just trying to
Yeah.
spend
to,
it.
to throw the money out to lose
Yeah,
it.
because Beaver might have a great quote, like that could be, I mean, it's incredible the rates UDOT gets compared to what we get if we go through contract. So, I mean, they might have really good numbers, or maybe they need more money, I don't know.
Could we offer them an up to 2? So
Yeah.
say,
Where they have some.
if you incur that cost, sure, but
Yeah.
we don't want to just throw it out there if they can't incur the costs.
Yeah.
Which administratively, you kind of do that anyway, right? If they don't incur the entire cost of their grant.
Yeah.
You don't pay out the full amount of the grant, am I right on that?
Yeah. Also, the only thing is like they met us at a 25% match, so we would
So they
still,
have to come up with more match.
yeah, they'd have to come up with more.
Oh, yeah.
But
They might.
we could offer it to them and see, and then we could have it contingent on if they need it, or if they don't need it, we could have it default elsewhere. I don't know.
I don't know either. Did their application, it was just the parking lot, right? It wasn't any other infrastructure like
There
a
was a
kiosk or a
restroom.
restroom or was there a restroom?
There was a
Thought it was a
restroom.
kiosk.
Okay.
Remember when she said we were gonna get done early? What? Remember she said we were gonna get done early? She jinxed it.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, not sorry. I don't know.
Sorry, not sorry.
I could
I
go
did
change
drive
the timer
myself
with
here,
that.
so I can just go right home.
Hey, and Rachel, this is Shane again. Do you mind if I just chime in one more time on that funding, just to hopefully clarify it? So I've read this a little bit more closely, and it looks like for OHV annual registration fees, $1.50 of each of those fees are first deposited into a land grant fund, and then SITLA uses those funds for various things. For example, to improve recreational opportunities on trust lands, for off-highway vehicle use, and to mitigate impacts associated with that. So that $1.50 gets put into a fund. SITLA uses a portion of it. Any unused balance of that money that exceeds $350,000 at the end of each fiscal year, that's the amount that goes back into the off-highway vehicle account fund. And that's the fund that you use to administer the FIG. Now, I don't know whether or not the legislature has ever appropriated money from that restricted account or further restricted it more than what you see here in 412219. But that's essentially the mechanism of funding for that. Now, there are other sources of revenue for 412219 from throughout the off-highway vehicle account, off-highway vehicle code, that flow into that restricted account as well. So.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So what you're saying is that the money that goes to SITLA ultimately, if they don't use that money and it exceeds 350, it
Wouldn't use it all.
comes back to us?
It goes into that off-highway vehicle account. Yep.
Okay.
And that's the account that the division uses to administer both the FIG grant and other programs directly that have to do with, for education and mitigation of impacts for off-highway vehicles, et cetera.
I can't hire more people. Yeah, I know. Okay, thank you, Shane. I really appreciate that, because for me, I misunderstood and was like, we need to put money back in our restricted account. So that makes me feel better. Okay.
So do we need to, council, do we need to increase funding on any of these?
I don't believe so. I think we just put it back in there.
Okay. Do we want to add $9,000 to one application that is unable to speak for themselves?
Can somebody go out in the hall and talk?
Any discussion on that?
I believe we ought to just stick it back into the account. That's my thought anyway.
Okay.
Someone's gonna have to make a motion. I'm not gonna make that motion.
Well, I guess, do we even need to make an emotion that we just, because we've gone
We don't
through
need
it.
a motion.
No, we don't need
Support
a,
these.
we don't need a motion.
We just
I
need the
don't think.
last,
We just need to approve. We would only need a motion if we were gonna
yeah.
not do what the spreadsheet said.
Yeah, hold on, let me share my screen back again so we can all see the final. I don't want to jinx it, but. I'm not saying anything.
Share that information.
Okay. So yeah, it looks like we've funded a little over $800,000 of grants. We funded 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Funded 9. And also to go over to the categories. Still have $100,000 left in forward. It's pretty good. All right.
Okay,
Second to last
next
item.
item on our agenda is approval of the quarterly FIG recommendation. So on our spreadsheet, the last couple hours, we've made our recommendation, which Rachel has put on the spreadsheet. I would entertain a motion to approve that recommendation of the
I'll make that motion.
and $3.802.
802 cents, not bad.
$802. Somebody better make a motion because I just said it.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, and who was
Could you
that?
state the motion?
I'll make the motion as stated.
Nice. We're gonna see it and it's gonna say cents.
That's all.
Okay, anyone second?
Come on, people.
Is
Second?
there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Fred. Okay, people in the room.
Cheryl,
Cheryl,
yes.
Yes.
Ron.
Yes.
Okay, Brody,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Fred, you seconded. So Jason,
I made the motion.
oops. Sorry, Jason. Tyson,
Yes.
awesome. Woo.
Did we get
Motion
Eric?
to adjourn.
Did you get Eric?
Yeah, I got Eric.
Okay.
I got Eric.
Oh, yeah, he was doing celebration.
All right.
Yeah, I accept that motion
To adjourn?
to adjourn. We don't need to second vote on that, do we?
No.
I don't think that's,
I don't even know if we need to have a motion or it needs to be an action.
well, it is an action item on the,
I don't
agenda.
think going forward that needs to be a thing, so. All right, well, thank you, everyone. I know that we had some other discussions today, like regarding follow-up stuff as well as,
There was one thing we didn't. We were supposed to set a meeting or something up to talk about mapping stuff.
no, it's not on the agenda.
we were gonna put that on the
She's
agenda
got it on her notes
It's on my notes.
after July 1.
for,
And I know you won't let me forget.
After
don't know.
July 1.
Hold on.
We keep talking about this. If we don't set something up, it won't get done.
True, less talky, more do.
Okay.
Well, okay.
But
Scott, I put you in charge of emailing me and reminding me. So this week's gonna be crazy.
So
So,
will you remind me?
No.
all right, if anyone's still on there and doesn't
I
want to listen to our banter, you're welcome to leave. Have a great night. Thank you for attending. Paul, I'm gonna end the recording So,
Thank you. We have adjourned.
See you later.
Drive safe.
everyone.
Broadcast concluding.